Alright, welcome to Bound for Glory. Today is round 1 of the AFL season. We've got GWS versus Sydney tonight. The news of the week, we're going to be talking about Jason Ackermanis commenting on Jim Steins. We've got Matt Rendell's racist outburst on Footy Classified on Monday night. And we've got Rohan Connolly and Warnie from DTTalk on today.
Woo.
Yeah.
Hello,
right.
Everybody. We probably should introduce ourselves.
Yes.
Sounds like an important thing. The person you just heard, that was
Jordan.
Yeah, I'm also Jordan.
Not confusing at all.
No.
My name's Matt.
My name's Joe.
And I'm Peter. And we're all set for a big show.
We are indeed.
Oh, yeah, no, it's going to be good. Like Jordan said, we've got some pretty huge guests coming on. Warnie from DTTalk, and of course the all-conquering Rohan Connolly. What is he at the age? Is he number 1 or number 2? Or
He'd probably be behind Caro, but he'd be second.
Oh, come on.
do you really
Maybe not our favourites.
Do you really want to be behind Caro?
I'm talking in pay salary,
Arrow's
though.
Arrow.
I'm not.
All right.
What else
cool.
have we got? Well, it is a new season. So, how do you feel about the first game being on tonight? And it's on a Saturday night. It's not traditional. It's generally been on a Thursday night or a Friday night. So it's nice and different, I suppose.
Yeah, I don't like one game being on only this week. I mean, if they had 2 or 3, it would be a bit better. But it's kind of like, I don't know, anticlimactic.
A little bit.
I'm not really keen to have one game on this weekend where it's going to be a 10-goal belting at the minimum. So,
10, yeah.
10.
10.
You're overrating them a little bit, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. What was it with Gold Coast? Like 120 first game?
something
Oh,
like
it
that.
was against Carlton, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you should know that then. You should know this. That's poor.
Well, the real games start next week anyway,
Yeah,
so
that's
when
true.
we can actually get into the footy.
When Richmond gets to number 1 in the AFL.
No.
Actually, to be fair, this will be the only week where you get to see GWS in the top 2.
That's true.
Are they actually in the? I thought it goes by alphabetical order. The first.
Yeah,
no,
but
no.
after this week.
After this
Oh.
week, because
I
technically
mean, they'll have a percentage of
Yeah.
20, but,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. It'll be good to see how they go, though. It'll be interesting.
Mm.
At least.
Yeah.
Like, what was it? It's got 17...
17
first-
debutants, yeah.
debutants. Most by, I think, 3? Like,
Yeah,
the youngest age
probably
was like...
just a little bit more than the Gold Coast had last
average
year.
age was about 20 and 240 days or something like that, and the next was like 22 or something like that. So it's pretty big difference between what's been done before.
How do you reckon Folau's going to play tonight?
Ooh, depends who's playing on him.
Average at best.
Yeah.
Grundy, maybe? I don't know. I'm not sure who would be playing on him.
I reckon he'll get about 5 touches max.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to say if they have any competent AFL footballer on him, he's not going to get much of a touch.
Yeah. Oh, he'll probably get himself reported. He should have been reported.
He was
against
reported,
Richmond.
and we will cover that.
Yes.
We'll cover that later on.
Yes, we will.
Don't steal my thunder. What else?
All right, let's get started, I guess. Shall we?
Alright, on to the first segment. I'm going to be talking about infamous players getting more recognition for their respective careers. Mario Balotelli might be one of the most exciting young soccer players in the whole world. A mixture of strength, speed, impeccable goal sense, and a stunning strike on the ball makes him so exciting to watch. However, he's much more well known for his infamous off-field antics, blowing up his bathroom with fireworks causing 300 grand worth of damage, sporting an AC Milan jumper on an Italian sports show when he was playing for Inter, and of course the Why Always Me shirt. He's received so much racial hate because he's black but he's also Italian. But he's an ambassador for anti-racism as well as other important issues like bullying, but yet no one seems to take notice of that or his playing career. Someone who divides the entire sporting community's attention seems to become immortalised. Simon Black might be the most undercredited star of recent times. His career is he's got just about every accolade an AFL player could ever earn. Ben Cousins was arguably of similar calibre to Black, yet his career seems to be pumped up so much more due to the media and supporters. Whilst Ben's recovery story is something that's really inspirational, it shouldn't affect how people regarded his career. Yes, he was a lot more of a flashy player than Simon Black, and everyone will remember the sizzling heights he reached with Judd in 05 and 06. He's not up there with the Vosses, the Buckleys and the Herds, but the media portrays him as so. I reckon he's about the same level as Black, Rashudo, Harvey and Crawford. What are you guys' thoughts on Ben Cousins?
I think it was a spectacular fall from grace.
Yes.
Yeah.
In saying that,
Such is life.
I would have said Robert Harvey's the next sort of best in that. Like, after all, he did win 2 Brownlows. So
He did.
Like, he's as close to that group of Voss, Buckley, Hurd as you can get.
But as Jordan's saying, like, it wasn't because Robert Harvey's never, belted a woman or done drugs or anything like that.
Yeah.
That we know of. He doesn't get the same amount of media accolades, or not media accolades, media attention that someone who has done that stuff would. You get in the newspaper and people want to see you play well after that if they like you. Things like that. It's important.
But bad boys sell papers.
That's true.
Yeah.
Richmond sells papers.
Yeah.
Is this going to be like a theme for the next?
Yes. For the next year.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yes.
Just jump in with Richmond related content.
Exactly.
Whatever you want.
And here we go with the North related.
Yep.
We will be.
And speaking of North, Wayne Carey might have been. I would have thought that he's the best forward of the modern era.
He's best player of all time.
Well, I think so as well.
Yeah.
But would he have been immortalised if he didn't get caught up in the media frenzy? Of course, he's an all-time great, but should his reputation be held higher than someone like Lockett or Dunstall because of what he did?
I personally think his reputation suffered a little bit because of what he did.
But he was different to Dunstall and Plugger.
In that he was a better player.
Yeah.
He actually ran.
and he was a centre-half forward.
Yeah.
Centre-half forward's different to full forward.
But yeah, I think it's different in that his reputation actually suffered because of the stuff with Kelly Stevens, but people still look at him as the greatest player of all time. I mean, whenever you have a debate about the greatest players of all time, it always seems to be Carey and, who else is there? Matthews, and I'm blanking.
I'd put
Barassi.
Ablett Jr.
Oh, yeah, I completely forgot. No, Ablett Senior, isn't it?
No,
Yeah,
I would say Junior is approaching.
You're contrarian, aren't you?
Yeah.
No, I'm not contrarian. That's my opinion.
No, of course.
I'm allowed my opinion.
All right.
No.
You are not allowed yet again.
In recent times, Liam Jarrah has been plastered all over the media. Okay, he's got a lot of raw talent, and his heritage attracts attention. But will the recent allegations affect how AFL supporters view him at the end of his career? I reckon he's the most overhyped player in the AFL, up there with Cyril.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Whoa!
Cyril is the most overhyped player in the league. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
He has moments of brilliance, but seriously, you can have 3 touches a game and Bruce will be in the box, having a seizure over him. So
We'd call it a seizure, but
yeah.
How people
A
can
hand seizure.
how people can continue to
And Cyril's in the top 20 players according to
Oh.
him,
No.
actually. And let's remember that. I just saw him at 19 and went, oh, here we go again.
Was that Sheehan's one?
Yes.
I don't think he's anywhere near the top 20
No,
players.
Yeah.
maybe 50-ish, but yeah.
He'd be in the top
That's at
50. He'd be
best.
in the top 50 in the AFL, but nowhere near the top 20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is he better than Swallow?
Yes.
No.
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 No, definitely not.
No.
Which Swallow?
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Both of the Swallows.
Yeah.
They'll both play for North.
Yeah. Sure they will. Where's the money going to come from?
Where's the money?
Yeah.
The White Knights.
Yeah, White Knights.
Why not?
JB's White Knights.
Cool. And
I'm surprised you haven't mentioned Fev, Jordan.
Well, I was going to get on to Fev. I think, look, he's a bit of a dickhead, let's be honest. But I reckon, even though I hate Carlton with all my heart, he's probably my favourite non-Essendon player of all time.
Really?
Yeah, I just think he's the most exciting.
He was just fun to watch.
yeah, he's a good character.
Fun to watch, but I think it's less. He's less infamous and just more of a complete dickhead.
Yeah.
Like you said, he's just a dickhead.
Yeah. I mean,
More than
who
anything else.
who goes through all this? Like, he's got how many kids now? 2 kids, and he's just
too.
still going through all of his.
With his
behaviour.
lovely wife, Alex. of
Yes.
course.
I'll put this to you guys.
Alright.
Fev or Ackermanis?
Oh, Fev.
Jeez. Fev, yeah.
Fev. Acker is banned from this show after his Jim Stein's comments.
But the thing with that hypothetical is that you have to take into account who's more talented, and Ackermanis is arguably the best player off his opposite foot that has ever played the game. Arguably.
I'd probably say be
Leon
at least
Cameron
top
was
5.
pretty good.
What?
Leon Cameron was pretty good off his
Yeah, but he's top 5 at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And arguably he's more talented. Fev might kick more goals and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
But who's the bigger dickhead?
Ackermanis.
It is actually quite funny when you see Fev telling Acker that he crossed the line. You know you've crossed the line when you see Fev telling you to settle down.
Fev is like a lovable doofus, but
Yeah.
Ackermanis is just
Yeah.
a hateful dickbag.
Yes.
It's very, very smart.
Yeah.
No, he's genuinely a very smart
Yeah.
person.
Mm.
Yeah.
He's just messed up in the head.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, if you say so, I don't see any evidence. Yeah.
For people out there, that was Matt, our Carlton supporter.
Yeah, we do have a couple of extra gentlemen just overseeing today. So it's obviously, as it's our first show, we've got a lot of interest in it from our group. So we've got some. If you hear any background voices, that's just the gentleman in the background chiming in whenever they see fit.
Idiots yelling from the nosebleed section.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there any more infamous players we can talk about?
Well, Phil Carman back in the 70s.
Oh, jeez, dude. Whoa.
And we're going back to the... Because arguably he was one of the best players.
Andy
Phil
Cracker.
Cracker. Oh, Andy Cracker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I suppose.
I suppose, yeah.
What's wrong with him now? Is he injured or is he?
Well,
Yeah,
he
he
just did his knee and he's
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, he's out for the season.
Yeah.
And he went back to WA, didn't he?
At one stage.
Yeah.
He came back and in his first game
Oh,
back,
right, yeah,
he
he injured
Well,
himself.
he was originally, like, going back even before that, he was in jail, wasn't he, for assault?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what the... Well, it's not controversial he did his knee.
Well, you're
I mean.
the Collingwood supporter. You're the Collingwood supporter, Peter. You tell us.
Yeah, well, he originally got charged with assault, went in jail, and then he played a year in the Waffle and won best player on ground and best in the league, and made it through.
40 possessions in the
Yeah.
grand final.
I actually remember seeing the highlights of that. Didn't they win by like a point or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He kicked the winning goal.
Yeah, he did. He did everything in that grand final. So, and then he got drafted and had a reasonable year last year. Like,
Yep.
yeah. So, yeah.
Worst mark of the year ever. Yeah, good call. Good call. Honest call.
Oh, it's probably up there with Lloyd's
Hateful
goal
call.
of the year.
No.
Lloyd's
As
goal.
overhyped as Nick Nat is, I think he had mark of the year last year.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Ooh. No, I think it was Walker.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I forgot Walker.
How did you forget Walker's mark?
Generally, if you don't take it out in front of you, it's not, as spectacular as others. I mean, the jump was ridiculous, but yeah.
Do you think it's less of a mark because it was a chest mark?
Yes.
You're a hateful person.
No.
All
Those are the
right.
best marks in recent history. I can't think of anything that beats it, really.
I think Lloyd's won against Melbourne a few years back. The one mark of the year that was huge.
What about Moorcroft?
Yeah.
The tiny man flying.
Yeah. that
Didn't
was-
he injure his back?
yes.
Yeah, he hurt his back.
He was done after that game.
That mark officially signified the end of Gary Moorcroft's career.
Yes.
Was it as controversial as the Lloyd goal though? The
back
goal
heel.
of the
The
year, the
back
back heel.
Didn't Rewalt do the exact same thing?
Mm.
From
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, that's pretty... Yeah, it was pretty controversial, so...
It was surprising this year we haven't heard about St Kilda in the off-season.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I
And
know,
that-
yeah.
We're going to get to that, but they're pretty happy with the way they've gone, apart from not winning,
Yeah.
towards the end. But
Well, yeah.
no, but in terms of fitness, they're glad not to be in the media.
Yeah.
So, like they were the last couple of seasons. So.
Yeah, that's good.
So that'll be quite good when we hear from Del Santo.
Mhm.
We haven't heard from Kim Duffy.
No.
That's
She
surprising.
does have a new Twitter account, though.
Oh. You're following it regularly, are you?
No, I was made aware to me.
I see. I know
That'd
a
be
friend
me.
of mine.
Yes. Awesome. So, well, we've probably got the next sort of bit that we can talk about. That's we're going to talk about the next sort of middle of rush, sort of
The spots between 6
and 12,
yeah.
which is
Yeah.
where we see sort of a logger jam thing, and we're going to be on that for a little while.
Well, the
So-
top 6 is pretty defined. Like, I'd say it's
Who's your
top
six?
5, you mean?
I think, yeah,
top
I'd
top
say
5, yeah,
Yeah.
I bet. Carlton, Collingwood, West Coast, Hawthorn, and Geelong.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
Collingwood's
seems
going to
to be
drop, I
consensus.
think, a bit to fourth, maybe.
Well, that's a huge
Oh
drop.
well, I had him at 4th.
Yeah.
He said 4th.
I was reading somewhere Wayne Carey said they couldn't even make the 4.
What? Collingwood?
Yeah. They find it
Well,
hard
we
under
all
Bucks.
know what we think of Wayne Carey now, don't we? We've
ya.
just discussed this. All right, so is it even up
What
to
are the
12?
teams that
6
fall
to
into
12,
that-
or is
into
it?
that
I-
Freo. Yeah, Freo.
I would have 3 or
Oh.
6.
Yeah, I'd put Freo in the top 6. I'd say they're probably the best of the 6 to 12 crop.
Yeah.
Oh.
What about Richmond?
Richmond
Oh, God.
8th,
No.
I would
No.
say.
they could sneak in with a very good year. But
Yeah, but it's a bit hard to sneak in with teams like Adelaide North and Melbourne having ridiculously easy draws.
Adelaide are coming.
Oh,
Yeah.
there you go.
I think Adelaide are coming.
Yeah.
But
Maybe a bit prematurely,
And-
since it was the NAB Cup win, but
But no. Like I like the way they're playing under. Is it McCartney now?
Santo.
Sanderson. I like.
yeah,
I
I
like
get confused with them too. It's
I-
like Brenton and
Brendan.
Brendan.
Yeah. yeah.
No, I like the way they're playing under Sanderson. I watched the NAB Cup Grand Final, and it seems like less of a crappy style of play and more of an exciting style of play. It's good. Good, I
Yeah.
think.
I reckon.
Who else have we got?
Like Sydney, I think are gonna. Sydney are gonna pretty much make the 8 because they're so consistent. They're gonna get 13 to 14 wins every year.
Yeah.
They're just like that.
But they're not going to go any further than I reckon the semi-final. I think that's pretty much where they stay.
They need to have sustained success though in Sydney because the New South Wales people are quite fickle, in my opinion.
Yeah.
With
stuff the
their
New South Wales.
support. We're doing this again.
That went here.
No, I think a friend of mine put it to me that when Adam Goodes retires, which will be a sad day for the AFL, he's an absolute champion.
Yeah.
But when he retires, I think my friend put to me that the Swans are going to have a really tough time maintaining their perpetual
Supporter base, or-
the perpetual 6th spot on the ladder.
Yeah.
They might just fall when Adam Goodes goes. He seems to be some sort of a talisman for the team.
Yeah.
Does anyone actually remember Sydney tanking out?
When which year?
No,
Any?
No,
Like, does
no,
anyone
They
actually
don't. They
remember?
don't tank.
No.
They couldn't afford to. 'cause-
No, that's true.
It's a good thing that they
base.
don't tank, but at the same time, it means that they're never topping up with talent like Patton or Caniglio or anything like that.
Yeah.
Which means they always finish 6th.
Yeah.
No one wants to finish
And I mean-
6th every year. 'Cause
Yeah. Like, I mean, would you
Richmond
rather?
would.
Yeah.
We would love it.
Would you rather sort of finish finals every single year, or would you have like a couple of bad years just to have a chance at winning that premiership? Because that's the kind of two odd opposites you can.
would that be tanking though?
That's the thing. Like whether you
Would it
could.
just be you being genuinely bad like Carlton were, or would it be actually like struggling to win games on purpose?
It's a list management
Yeah.
thing, really. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
there's a difference
Oh, yeah.
between tanking and playing kids because
Yeah.
the players that you have currently are duds and not going to win you a grand final.
Yeah.
So,
But then that's what they all say, because no one can go out there, no players can go out there and go, okay, we're not going to try, we're not going to do this, because
Yeah.
they've all got contracts to try and play for.
Yeah.
And if the coach gets replaced, they have to play well, because otherwise they won't be there. So
Exactly.
it's at the tactical side. Like, what was it, Melbourne against Richmond, was it?
Carlton.
Back in
Carlton.
Melbourne
no,
Carlton.
but
The Bryce Gibbs
time.
Cup.
I'm
No,
talking
it was
about the
the
one where
Matthew Cruiser Cup, wasn't
McMahon
Yeah,
kicked
yeah.
after the goal after
Yeah.
the siren. Didn't they have, like, Stephen Martin, was it, playing on a...
Oh, yeah, they
something?
had people
some
playing all
ridiculous.
over the
They had
ground.
some
That wasn't
tiny
even-
dude playing ruck.
there were other games as well where
Yeah.
they did that.
Yeah, like that's just
Again,
obvious.
they were about
like,
to beat St Kilda, and then they moved, I don't know,
Yeah,
Nathan Jones to the ruck.
and like, and when McMahon, kicked the goal, I'm pretty sure Melbourne supporters were celebrating at
cheering.
the same time.
They were
like-
singing the Richmond song.
Yeah, they were.
And
It
how
is
did that
nice.
turn out for you? Karma.
It is a nice song though.
It is a nice
Yeah.
song. Best song in the league.
Yeah,
No, probably it
Yeah.
is the best song.
terrible team, but
we just don't really hear it that much.
How's,
so.
how's ninth Melbourne going lately?
You Richmond, Ninthman.
No, hasn't happened for
Hasn't
2008.
Hasn't Fitzroy made more finals than Richmond
They
in the
have.
last 30 years?
They have. Doesn't Fitzroy have more memberships than North Melbourne?
Ouch.
Well, they do actually exist. It's just not in the
Yeah,
AFL.
exactly.
Of course.
Because there is a lot of Fitzroy fans.
I
out
miss
there,
them.
so-
They were a good
Shout out
club.
to all the Fitzroy fans.
Yeah,
Their jumper was actually one of the best jumpers.
yeah.
And now it's a paddle pop line.
Disappointing
Yeah.
to us.
Look, I think we should get back on topic between the jam between 6 and 12.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on North Melbourne this year?
Top 4.
Ninth again.
Here we go.
Oh, are you
I think-
Cunnington, are you?
I think realistically we should aim North Melbourne. Because I and Joe over here are both North Melbourne supporters. Realistically, I think we should aim for between 8 and 4 in that little bracket of between.
You can aim there, but you won't get there.
We finished ninth
Why
last.
the hate?
We finished ninth last year
And the year before that.
and the
Yeah.
year before
Well-
that, but we lost 4 games and the 10 points.
Yeah.
Well, if we look at it this way, who finishes higher out of, say, North and Richmond, since they're the two
North.
there?
North.
Yeah.
Because of their draw, I would say North.
You can tell the Richmond supporter, pick them out. Like, but then who out of, if you add Melbourne in, do they finish
No,
above anyone?
North,
no.
Yep.
Possibly.
No.
If
Yes.
you think about Jim Steins,
Yes.
and if they're going to lift the
But
whole season,
I don't think they're going to be able to live for an entire season.
Yeah, no.
If they couldn't lift to save their coach, then for a couple of games.
Oh, Jim Steins is.
I know.
10
Jim
Different to Dean
Steins is
Bailey.
a gun.
Yeah,
but-
A lot different to Dean Bailey.
Yeah.
Where do we see the improvement coming from in North, Richmond, and Melbourne this year?
Actually, I think it's probably not. I think we should have Essendon in there as well. I
Yeah.
think they're in that
that's true.
sort of
Yeah.
thing as well.
Hurley just signed a 5-year contract.
very
Yes,
good for
very
him.
exciting news.
600 grand a year or something like
Yeah.
that, wasn't it? Yeah.
3 million over 5 years.
Yeah.
I think that's probably reasonable. Like, it's
What are
not
your
like
thoughts on
he's.
that?
Oh, I love it. Look,
He's set for life.
Yeah, we haven't had to like give our whole like salary cap to him just to like keep him. And I think he, like, 5-year deal is just ridiculous. I think Sydney did that with Sam Reid as well.
Yeah.
And
Gun player, by the way.
Yeah, he is. I think we're also looking to keep Ryder and also Stanton as well. I've read that in the paper today.
Wasn't
Don't
Stanton,
know why, but
wasn't Stanton close to leaving because of all the abuse that he was getting from
the fans.
From the fans.
To be fair, Stanton is a better player than what a lot of people make him out to be.
I agree.
He
He
Like,
runs
he's no
all
star,
day.
but he's solid.
He got something like 16.6 on the beep test as an under 18. So it's
he's got plenty of
ridiculous,
endurance.
yeah.
So. But we might just have our audio coming up. Okay. What we will try is maybe some audio from Liam Anthony. So this is Liam. This is Liam Anthony talking about the sub rule.
And you played as a sub a few times last year. How do you find that?
It's a different role. I'm sure the players are still getting used to it. It's difficult because you sit on the bench for 2.5, 3 quarters. You've got to keep yourself warm for that amount of time. So it is a different role, but I'm sure the way the AFL are going, they know what they're doing.
So that was Liam Anthony just on the thoughts of the sub rule.
He did play as a sub a fair few times last year.
Yelling at us.
So that's why I thought it would be appropriate.
It was fantastic.
He was coming back. What do you mean it's fantastic? Do not rate Liam Anthony.
No, I rate Liam Anthony. I just he'd probably be behind in the pecking order just a little bit at North.
Well, he's had a decent preseason.
He has had a decent preseason,
Rumour has it he's playing in the back line this year.
which is a good move. I think that's where he needs to play.
Really? Good
Well,
move. His kicking is the only thing that's suspect, isn't it?
Not really. He's a good kick.
No.
He's a good kick.
Yeah.
He's no Basher Hawley.
He's no Basher Hooley, that's for sure.
Because he had, like, I spoke to him, he had a really good first season before getting injured. Because he
and
sort of came out and
it was the problem with his shoulder that Travis Cloak caused. He landed on him and dislocated it, and then from then on, I think it was pretty much just a lack of confidence in his body that he wasn't going in as hard because he was worried about dislocating his shoulder,
That's
things
true.
like that. So
And he had, what was it, shin splints or foot?
something like that.
Something with his foot.
Something of that nature.
Yeah.
He played quite well against the Dogs in Ballarat. Couple
he
of goals.
Did,
Yeah. No, he's doing quite well.
Brad Scott speaks to us about Aaron Black, about Lockie Hansen, and just about what the team's done in preparation for this season.
With Blackie's game against the Tigers last year, what do you think is the area he most needs to improve on, and what do you think is the area he's already made?
Well, look, he hasn't had a proper pre-season yet. This up until his first 2 years at the club, he was really hampered by injury. So, as a key position, players generally take a bit longer to develop. And the key thing for Blackie is time. He just needs to keep training really hard and getting stronger and getting fitter. Because at the moment he's not quite able to compete with the big, strong centre half back. So, but he will in time. So, we just got to be patient with Blackie. We know he's a great talent, but he's got some others ahead of him at the moment.
Lockie Hansen this year, what do you think you're playing?
Well, Lockie's got to force his way into our best side, whether that's forward or back. We know at 197 centimetres and almost 100 kilos, he's got the physical dimensions to be able to play key possession both ends. But at the moment, he's got to force his way past a couple of others. But pre-season predominantly he's played back, so that's where we're getting playing.
So you trialled Sammy Wright in defence. Any other experiments for the game against Carlton?
No, and really, Sammy's played there before, so we're looking for a bit of flexibility with our midfield. So I think that what you've seen is pretty much what you'll get to this point.
So, one last question. Over the pre-season, which has been more of a focus, fitness or disposal efficiency?
I don't think you prioritise one ahead of the other. What we have done is increased our volume of both. So, we're in a position where we need to get fitter and we need to improve our skill level. So, I'd say that both being worked on in equal measure.
All right.
Interesting comments from Brad Scott there, especially about Lockie Hansen maybe not being in North's best 22.
Yeah.
I would agree with him there.
You would.
Yeah.
He was pick 3 in 2006. Was he worth pick 3?
No.
Well, not at this stage.
I think
so.
when he was in under 18s, he was worth pick 3. But Scott Gumbleton was worth pick 2 in that same draft.
Yeah. So.
Richard Tambling was worth pick 1 in the draft. He went at 4 though. So.
I don't follow your logic.
And who picked up Tambling?
Richmond did, but we got we swindled Adelaide with the trade.
Was this the 2006 draft?
2004.
That long ago
went
now.
directly after
Wow.
Tambling? Who went directly after Tambling?
Buddy did, but he had lots of
That's
he had
right.
attitude
The Hanson
problems
draft.
in the.
Of course, yes.
Oh, Hanson was 2-6.
Yeah, so that was the same draft where Ben Reid was taken at 10, yeah?
Yes, Jack Rewald at 13.
No one cares about Ben
Just got to
Reid.
get that out
Frawley
there.
at 14.
Just off topic, what happened to Oakley Nichols?
He's gone.
He was
Oh no,
at
is he?
He's at West Coast.
No,
Yeah,
I think
West
he's gone from West
Yeah,
Coast
he
as well.
got delisted.
Probably.
So,
We have some audio from North Melbourne ruckman Todd Goldstein as well. We again from the media day at North. He's probably the most exciting young ruckman in the league. So we'll have a listen
And
to this.
he's just signed a new contract with North Melbourne as well.
He has.
All right, round one. Are you looking forward to tackling Hill and Ryder?
Yeah, you know, it's always a tough game coming against them too, and also got Tommy Bellchambers in the mix there. But you know, I think we haven't really thought about it too much at this stage. Still preparing for Carlton and trying to get as ready personally as we can for round one.
As a trial with you and Mac, has the midfield game plan changed, or are you guys still on the same page?
No, it hasn't changed too much. I mean, all it really means is gives me a bit of a chop out. I think you know, playing 100% of the game is pretty tough, and I think it will give us a bit more flexibility and hopefully allow us to have more impact around the grounds and up forward.
I mean, even with your last year, you're saying 100% of the game, your endurance was really good. You played something like 21 games straight after you missed the first game in Perth. Would you put that down to your basketball background or Utah?
No, I think it's all about the work that our trainers put into me in my first 3 years. I think we had a big focus on trying to get my fitness and get a bigger tank, and that paid dividends last year. It's something I've always tried to pride myself in, and yeah, it helped me out a lot.
With mixing with McIntosh, do you think it'll be exclusively moving forward? Do you think maybe you'll drift back?
Oh, you know, that's the way up to the coach and how he wants to see it. You know, I think we've both shown that we can support the defence if we need to, but I imagine it'll be mostly trying to give another target to give Drew Petrie a chop out down there.
Right. Do you think, especially after last year's ridiculous pre-season, that everything's gone to plan so far?
Yeah, I think so. You know, we've prepared as well as we can. I think all our targets have been up, and we've been hitting the mark. So you know, we've got to be reasonably happy. I think it's the games we've learned a lot from the mistakes we've made, and hopefully that will hold us in good stead.
Is there any particular that sticks in your mind from last season where it coulda, shoulda, woulda?
There's plenty of those games where we lost I think a number of games by under 10 points and by under a kick. So you know, there's always those games that coulda, woulda, shoulda, but in the end they didn't go our way, and we just need to be better and be ready for those opportunities and take them this year.
Do you think kicking efficiency is the key?
Yeah, I mean that's always a big part. Now with the way footy's played is if you miss a kick and have a turnover, 90% of the time it's going the other way for a goal. So you definitely need to work on trying to get kicks up, and yeah, that is a big factor for us.
Do you know if we're going through the middle this year or we're going around the boundary?
I think it will change up depending on the scenario.
I mean, after what we saw against the Bulldogs, I mean, we look pretty good going through the middle.
Yeah, you know, I think we're not going to say we're one side that only use that corridor or only use the wings, but you know, it's about trying to find the balance and try and pick your way through all these zones and man on mans.
It's good. Thanks, Dad.
Right.
And that was Todd Goldstein from the Media Day. It was interesting what he said about kicking efficiency. What do you guys think?
It's the way forward. It's the only way you're going to win games is with efficient kicking.
Mark Blake didn't get many kicks, and he's a premiership player.
That's true.
Yeah, but he's also a sook.
No, he's son of a Geelong grade as well. So.
And if you think about it, why didn't they just play him for that one more game? Because if he has kids and they end up being like number
they
one
won't end up
picks,
being anything.
but if they do, then I think
they
they'll
might just be
regret that.
tall and then pull a Mark Blake. So
They end up walking into walls and things like that.
Do you think North's going to be too top heavy with McIntosh, Goldstein, and Petrie all playing in the same side?
And Tarrant in the forward line.
Petrie
it's Tarrant in the forward line now.
Yeah.
Petrie won't leave the forward 50 though, ever.
No, he's such a good player. Such a good mark.
We saw what he did against Carlton.
Yeah,
7
7
goals.
straight.
Goals.
Yeah.
But that was without Carlton having Jamison though.
So we've actually got some audio from Del Santo, who's
Nice segue.
from the St Kilda way. Yep, sure is. So he's just going to have a bit of a talk about how the pre-season's gone, and we're going to hear from them about how the Saints have felt.
This is from St Kilda's Family Day.
St Kilda Family Day in Frankston, yes.
Yeah.
Period of time we've been able to get a lot of guys that we want to play senior football on the park, and a lot of guys that had to do the work. So the younger guys have done the work, the older guys have been managed really well. So, if you could walk into round one and say, from a personnel point of view, you're pretty much where you want to be, I think that's a good start. There's definitely a positive feel about the club. Last year there was sort of difficult periods. After 8 or 9 games, I think we'd won 1 game, so that makes it a little bit hard and very intense, from a media point of view and obviously from a pressure point of view. But I think this pre-season has been really positive. It's nice to have a little bit of a change after what's been going on the last few years. So we're ready to go. I mean, there's no other ways about it. We've put in 5 months of solid work, and we're really looking forward to getting into the season.
So that was Nick Del Santo speaking at the Family Day, and he pretty much basically said he was happy that they didn't have the controversy surrounding them from the last couple of years.
Who would be happy with controversy?
No. Yeah, well, I mean, with the whole Kim Duffy scandal, and as he said, they'd only won 1 game in the first 7 or 8, so they were really pretty bad at the start, and they managed to make finals, which was, amazing in itself. But
with the Saints, I'm interested to see how Rewalt goes this year, because I suppose he would probably be the first person to admit that he didn't actually have a great season last year.
Exactly.
So he's a what is he? Probably a top 5 player in the AFL when he's on. So love to see how he goes this year, how he rebounds from last year's disappointing efforts.
Can you kick 100 goals?
No way.
He's not that type of player.
I think only Franklin can do that in this day and age.
And Jack Rewalt.
If you put Rewalt in the square and left him in the square...
But that's wasting him, in my opinion.
Exactly.
His athleticism is his biggest strength.
Before the game, the guy runs he runs 3 Ks on the ground before the game in Leeds. Yeah. What are you going to put him in the goal square and say, oh, you can't run anywhere, Nick. Just stay there, all right, mate?
Let the ball come to you.
Yeah.
Because who has St Kilda got? Cozzy.
Put him in the ruck.
Put him in the seconds.
How's St Kilda going to go this year?
I think they'll need to play a lot more younger kids like Ledger and Sipos to try make a difference.
They might just scrape outside the bottom 4.
They do have Lenny Hayes back. They do have Lenny Hayes back.
When he got injured, not Lenny.
Everyone likes Lenny.
I think they're going to fall, but I think they'll be better for it. I don't think there's much point in them trying to go for it because they're not good enough to go for another premiership. So they might as well.
Scathing comments here from Peter.
Oh,
yeah. And with free agency coming in, I think Saints have a lot of players coming into the unrestricted version of free agency. So that should, if they're playing young kids, then they might have a few going walkabout after that.
And I think St Kilda's the perfect example of having some really top-end talent, and then there's just a massive divide into the bottom. So
is Jason Blake still on their list?
Yes. I think they rookied him.
He's the forgotten man.
Yeah. No, they didn't rookie him. They delisted him and then they took him in the draft again for whatever reason.
Well, we did that with Gavin Urquhart at North.
But they took him in the national draft.
That was a rookie draft.
No, Urquhart was, but Blake was the actual draft.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Like their last pick or something.
After these messages, we're going to go to Jim Stein's tribute.
Bringing you nothing but the best sounds from R&B to independent, underground to mainstream, international to our very own homegrown. We've got the lowdown on the latest events, artists, interviews and reviews, freestyle and battle competitions with giveaways each week, featuring none other than Strictly Oz, bigger than hip-hop. Hip-hop's finest, Wednesday night, 8 o'clock, 90.7 on Sin. Hip-hop's finest.
Yeah, well, wicked.
Bad Wolf, 4 PM Sundays on Sin.
So we're back, and we're going to talk about Jim Steins, who we lost to champion this week, and it's over to Joe.
What can you say about Jim Steins? He was a marvel. He was a champion. He was something footy folklore will talk for the next 100 years. Jim Steins is what the Melbourne Football Club is all about. He took the club when it was on his knees and brought him back to the level playing field. Jim was just a champion. When he ran over that mark in 1987 against the Hawks, he left the ground as the most disliked Melbourne player that day. and he left this earth the most loved Melbourne player. His work with the Reach Foundation was just outstanding. His fighting spirit is something we can all look at and really cherish. He was just a unique individual. He had time for everyone, and he was just a great man. Jim was Jim. No one was like Jim. No one will ever be like Jim. Even with his crazy remedies, Jim was Jim. Recently, Jason Ackermanis had a few distasteful words to say about Jim, but we'll all agree, Jim Steins and Jason Ackermanis should never be put in the same sentence, paragraph or column. The amount of work Jim Steins has done for football and people can't be described. Rest in peace, big fella. You'll be missed by all.
So we've also just going to discuss the comments made by Acker, which obviously I think everyone's got a pretty similar opinion.
Yeah. It's nice words from Joe, though. It's very nice. Yeah. Very well said.
Yes.
Mm.
So
definitely going to be missed.
Yeah, it's a huge loss to football.
And not just to football,
and
like
community.
I think people, for the community, I think people sort of understate the work he does with Reach.
Yeah.
You know.
I remember when he went to, when I was a kid, he came to the school and did a great speech, and he spoke to me like I was the Prime Minister, that sort of thing. He didn't care, how old you were, where you were from, etc. He's just a great person.
Yeah. And he, the fact that time he was in the cheers squad when they won that game and he marked the ball, it was really symbolic of he's happy to be right amongst the people and just be amongst it. Like, he's another supporter.
He wasn't just your typical behind the scenes boardroom type of involvement in the club. It was always out and about with the players and the supporters and stuff. And he's different from other club people in that way, in that he's always amongst it, and it shows that he was really dedicated to the football club, and it's something that I think unfortunately is a little bit more lacking nowadays.
So obviously Acker's comments have struck a nerve with most of the football public, as you generally do when it's Acker. So
yeah. Well, we were talking about St Kilda, who doesn't like controversy. Acker likes controversy.
Acker
That's
loves
about the only
controversy,
person that likes controversy. So.
But before we jump into slandering him for these comments, we have to say Acker was an unbelievably talented footballer.
Yes.
Regardless of what you think about him, and regardless of what he says about much loved footballing identities, he was very talented. He was a great footballer, great kick off both sides. He's a triple premiership player, but a tool.
Yeah.
A total tool.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I think we all have to accept that he's gonna slander and just be
Acker.
Yeah, be Acker. Yeah. But I think this is probably his last straw. He's stuffed up too many times.
You'd think by now that people would just not give him an outlet to voice his opinion unless they just want to sell papers.
Well,
I think that's the idea. That's his whole role.
Yeah.
To sell papers.
Yeah, he sells papers and he gets people to listen to the radio. So he'd be great on here.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he's never coming on the show. Never. Acker, if you're listening, we don't want you.
His price is only $100.
Oh,
really?
That's what was reported by the Gold Coast radio station.
$100 now.
I could pay him out of my wallet right now.
Yeah. Well, he could pay us $100 to appear. How does that sound?
I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
If this show makes money, then I'm happy.
To get back on Jim Steins, what was your favourite? What was your favourite image of Jim Steins?
Probably like the lap he did after they when it was just majorly announced that he did have cancer, and it was just a sad thing to see everyone standing up and cheering for him. Everyone was really behind him, and it was quite a moving thing.
For mine, it's more probably the images of him being at games with his head shaved after days after major brain surgery, things like that.
Yeah.
It just shows determination to be to be somewhere where someone in his situation normally wouldn't. And I think being given 9 months to live and then living for 5 years is something that we really can't understate at all. It needs to be really talked about as something that is an incredible achievement of the human spirit. Really.
Yep.
Just days before he passed on, he went to the Melbourne Hawthorn game. And one image that will always be with me is the one where he's hugging Austin Wanamary's dad after they beat Brisbane. Nice. And just the raw emotion they showed on that day.
It was good.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're gonna switch to a little bit more of a light-hearted topic. I'm sure that was a good quota of sad and intelligent conversation. Yes. But We're going to switch to a bit of a lighter topic now, and we're going to chat to Warnie from Dream Team Talk. It's a popular YouTube show, I believe. Him and his mates, they talk about the best Dream Team picks for the year and your team ahead. So we're going to chat to him now. Have we got him on the phone?
G'day guys, how are we going?
How are you, Warnie?
How are you, Warnie?
Beautiful on this very exciting day for all of us.
Yeah, it's a quite exciting day. Your first guest ever, which is quite groundbreaking.
Awesome.
Now, you join us all the way from Tasmania, don't you?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we're based in Launceston.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Fantastic.
Have you bought a North Melbourne membership?
No North Melbourne memberships for me. I think we've got a little bit of a horse for lions here, if anything, because of the games at Aurora Stadium.
Yeah.
And that's in Launceston?
Yeah, that's in Lonnie, yeah.
Yeah, cool.
All right, now talk to us about your dream team. What's it looking like at the moment? Is it finished? Have you picked all your players? Any strategies that we should tell the people?
Yeah, well, definitely. I've probably spent the good part of the last 6 months on this. So I've been working pretty hard at it. But this afternoon will probably tell us a fair bit about where my team's going to be. But typically going a bit of a guns and rookie strategy. So starting a few rookies on the ground, which is quite popular now, and probably my backline is probably one of the interesting places because quite a few mid-price players there because there's a bit of value in guys like Hargrave, for example.
Yeah. And have you found? I know you've got the cheat sheet out on your on the Dream Team Talk website.
Yep.
Have you found the response for that's been pretty good?
Yeah, pretty good. I guess there's a few people out there going, "Oh, geez, you're making it too easy for everyone." But I think our idea behind it is so that people who maybe haven't done a lot of study or whatever, can have a good start to the year because it's more fun if you're not way behind the eight ball against your mates too much. We're not giving everything away, but just giving people a bit of a leg up. So yeah, it's had quite a few downloads, which is good. And so our website has been really, really popular this pre-season. We're sort of pretty blown away ourselves about what it's turned into. So it's great.
Yeah. Have there been any players that have come out of nowhere really to be on your side?
I guess as the pre-season goes through, sort of nabbed up a few names that weren't so much on the radar have come in there. Like one, for example, I think Matthew Boyd he wasn't in my team, almost pushing that 30-year-old player rule that you think, oh, he's not going to be good. But with his last couple of seasons, he's been sensational. But then the pre-season he had a monster couple of games. So I think he is well and truly there that wasn't there probably 3 or 4 weeks ago. So he's definitely in now.
Another Bulldog to talk about. What about Brian Lake?
Well, yeah, I'm not 100% sold on Lakey at the moment, and this is probably going to come down to a little bit of buy strategy and how I'm dealing with that. But as I've got Hargrave, I think he's a definite lock for me.
Yeah.
Lake had pretty good season to go. He's probably one of those players that could potentially be in the top 5 backs at the end of the season. But yeah, I don't know, just the older body, there's a few question marks, but then again too, like where are you going to find your best value from? And it could be in Lakey there. So that'll be one of the big decisions that we'll have at DT Talk headquarters this afternoon when we'll be spending about 4 hours together, I think, the boys, and we'll just be making sure, sticking a few beers and making sure that we've got our team set for tonight.
Yeah, it's the last day of unlimited trades, isn't it? Or is it with the loophole? Is it can you make unlimited trades next week as long as it's not Sydney and GWS?
Pretty much how it works. We only your GWS and Sydney players are locked in tonight, and so then we've got until next Friday to basically finish off our team. So you've got unlimited trades through that, which is good with all your other players, but you've just got to bear in mind that wherever your GWS or Sydney players are, they are locked in, and that'll happen as well next Thursday night for the Carlton and Tigers game. So those players will be locked there too.
Yeah.
Have you got any smokies that you're jumping on?
Well, they're the ones that I want to keep a little bit of a secret. But some of the ones that I am probably the most popular players that I've got in there at the moment. I'm going to take a punt on Reece Ponka in the back line. I think he'll be one of my sort of about a mid-price player that will be there.
Yeah, he's a gun, so it doesn't hurt.
Yeah. A couple of others that probably not so much really smokies, but guys that mightn't be your typical pick. I'm thinking about Bryce Gibbs as a selection there as my 4th midfielder. I think that he's sort of going to have a pretty good year and maybe hopefully put away some of the tagging type stuff, and also in the forward line, loading up with a lot of dual position players, the mid forwards, and getting in there, Mitch Robinsons, the still side bottoms and the like, which a lot of people are doing, but, you know, really making sure that that's pretty strong with those guys.
Do you have any mistakes that will make you make year in, year out, and that you'll never learn from?
I guess there's those players that you might call your never again players. You get a little bit excited. You get a little bit excited about some guys, and you go, "Oh yeah, I had him a couple of years ago. Oh, he was unlucky with that injury." All those sorts of things, and then they end up burning your time. And again,
Sean Higgins.
Sean Higgins is at the top of the list. There's quite a few there that you could do. Colin Sylvia, I think that he'll probably, as much as I'll get excited by him when he comes back and you're thinking, oh, he's still a little bit of value and he's played all right, but he's missing those first few weeks with his back injury. But, I've been sucked in plenty of times before, but sometimes I think we need to put that away from it and really consider them, because you can't completely rule anyone out. I think Jack Grimes is another that a lot of people have, but you see his name next week, I think I'll be picking him.
Yeah.
That's a little bit bad.
All right, Patrick Dangerfield, yes or no this year?
Well, in Supercoach, I think I will pick him, but I don't think I've got the coconuts to go with him in the dream team to start with, mainly because where my forward structure is, there's not really a spot for him, but as well, I'm not sure if he can really produce that week in and week out, because he has had a really good pre-season.
Yeah. And with the buys this year, a lot of people are going the 8-11-11 strat. Is that what you're doing as well?
Yeah, pretty much, with a little bit of a mix, I suppose. I think as much as we can plan for these buys, we can't plan for all the injuries and the selection worries that we're going to have in 11 weeks' time, because it is still a long way away. So I think being safe and conservative is probably the best way to go, and making sure that any trading that you are doing is sort of sticking with that. But, there's so many things that can happen, and we'll be eating multiple donuts, I reckon, those rounds. So, so we'll have to really keep an eye on how you're setting up there.
Yeah, and you seem to have a pretty good rivalry going with your mates down there, Roy and Calvin. Does that make you go for more of the league win, or are you still going to be, number one in all of Dream Team?
Yeah, I think with us, our league was huge. So we started Dream Team Talk about 6 years ago. This is our sixth season now of running a website, but I guess we've been playing since Dream Team started, and that was pretty big. And like we would be very, very secretive back in the day when we didn't have our live stats. So we used to have the spreadsheets all set up and the formulas all set up. And one day, Calvin hacked into my computer, just got on my computer and changed my formulas and upped my score by 10%. And so I've got the win over him, I thought, on Sunday night, and so I'm prancing around making big statements and stuff, and then Calvin ended up beating me by 30 points when that opened up the next day, and so there was a fair bit of red face for me that week. But we had huge rivalries with that. But I think the thing now we think with our website, sort of the credibility of finishing as high as we can is what we are after.
Cool. And, what sort of things go into making an episode? Is it all that time-consuming, or do you still have time to do it through work commitments and all that sort of thing?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. We're actually all full-time teachers, which isn't too bad for time-wise, but, it does get a bit stressful at times when we've got different things on. But, I guess an episode, when we used to do our 10-minute YouTube ones, they could take a fair while because I get a bit pedantic with my editing and making sure that's as good as it can be. But now we've gone to our live shows, sort of, an hour or so research, but beforehand, before the show, we get together. But I think before that, obviously living and breathing Dream Team during the week, so we know what's going on, and we pretty much, our phones, our friends with plenty of text messages. I think it would be pretty gold for anyone to grab hold of our phones. So in between the messages to the girlfriend, I'll be home for dinner or whatever. There's about 400 Dream Team related messages on there per day, I would say.
Cool. About your relationship with Roy and Calvin and the other guys that produce the show, how did you all come together? How did you guys all meet?
Yeah, we all met at uni. It's pretty much first year uni. Been pretty tight ever since. And Roy, they played basketball together, so they were good friends. And Chopper is actually Calvin's brother, and so I've been friends for about 30 years now. Not by choice, but anyway, they need to be. So that's sort of how we did. And Chook, he was a friend from uni as well, basically put a website together or a blog together, and then we went with the show and took over the site and made it a .com and turned it into what it is now. So
Yeah, I mean, I've noticed on the show with your interviews, typically a lot of them are from Hawthorn, as you know, they do have the training base in Aurora Stadium. Have you found that they've been quite easy to approach? And I know you're good mates with Hodgie now, but would you say he's the best interview that you've had, or?
Yeah, Hodgie's he's a top bloke, and he's just a genuinely good bloke. He'd be someone that you'd love to have a beer with, I reckon. Whenever we're down there or whatever, he just stops and has a bit of a chat for us for 10 minutes or whatever, and gives us a few tips and secrets, which is good, but also wants to see how fast. But we've met lots of great people out of it, which is a really cool thing. I think if I was going back 15 years ago to talk to my high school me, I'd be loving this moment at the moment, so it'd be great. But guys like Nick Maxwell, as much as a lot of people don't like him, and yes, he's the Collingwood captain, he would have to be one of the nicest blokes going around, sort of the most giving guys, and he's looked after us a fair bit, which has been really awesome for us, and big supporter of all the work that we've done.
Just one last thing about Dream Team. Tall forwards still viable selections, goals and marks versus disposals?
Yeah, not so much so, especially now in the structure and with all of our dual position players that we've got. I think there's a lot more value in those sorts of guys. So your mid forwards, you'd probably be picking those over others. But in saying that, a guy like a Buddy Franklin needs to be probably number one forward pick, because personally I think he's going to win the Coleman medal and have a 100+ season and possibly be that highest scoring forward this year. So I'd be looking at them. Other guys not so much. Whereas for rookies though, if there isn't too much, like a Jeremy Cameron is definitely an option to be picking, because their starting prices are so low.
Yeah.
But you're just not going to expect as much from some others. However, with our cupboard being as bare as what it is with our forward rookies, he might be a really good option for a lot of coaches.
What's next for the Dream Team Talk, boys? I think we've heard about a project called the Fan Show that you're trying to get up and running.
Yeah, well, last year, or a couple of years ago, we were approached about what is now the Fan Show, a bit of a project which is a fantasy footy show, an hour-long show for TV, and that would involve both Dream Team and Supercoach. So we went over to Melbourne last year, took a week of leave and shot a pilot, which was fantastic, with Mark Howard hosting from Channel 10.
That's terrific.
He was brilliant, and we also had Jason Ackermanis on there as well.
Oh, goodness.
It's not topical. And then lots of support from players such as Nick Maxwell, one of our mates, Nathan Grimer from North Melbourne. He's a champion. He's one of our mates from down here in Tassie.
He's originally from Tasmania, isn't he?
He is, yep. Yeah. He's a Lonnie boy. And a few other guys from Melbourne, a couple of other Tassie guys there. And Hugh Pettard and Colin Garland helped us out with the show too. So we sort of made a really good product and sort of put it out there. It's a bit of interest, but no dice as yet. So hopefully we'll push hard for next year. There is unfortunately a Supercoach show starting on Fox Footy very soon. So we're not involved with that, but who knows what could happen. We'll just keep working hard at it. I think we're putting out there a pretty good product for people with everything that we're doing with DTTalk. So rather than having, the guys that have no idea, or footballers standing there and talking about it, being the faces of it, I think a fantasy footy show, for it to work, needs to have, the fans like us, because we're just normal lads putting it together and being the faces of it.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for your time, Warnie. So to get to the Dream Team YouTube thing, you just type Dream Team Talk into YouTube, I assume?
Yep, and our website is on dreamteamtalk.com, so there's you can get links to all the videos there. We did 3 big pre-season ones with lots of great guests for those, so even a bit of North Melbourne love there with Andrew Swallow, which I'm sure you boys will like too.
Absolutely, terrific. So, well, thanks for your time. Unfortunately, I think we're out of time for the interview, so thanks for coming on, and best of luck with your team for the year.
Not a problem. Happy dream teaming.
Thanks very much.
See you, Warnie.
Okay, well, that was a good interview
That's terrific.
from an expert. So, that's quite good.
Who have you guys got in your dream team?
Boyd is definitely a player that I do want in my team. But you know,
Is that Craig related to Boyd? Or
No, it wasn't.
Is he
related
getting
to
old?
Boyd.
Or?
I wish. But no, it was quite good.
I do have Boyd in my team. I loaded up on midfield this year. I went really large on the midfield. I think I've only got 1 or 2 rookies starting. But a lot of the high-priced players, you know, the Pendleburys, the Judds, the Ablett, I've got all those guys in the team. Actually, I might have updated it, I'm not sure. But in any case, I think in past years, because I've been really, obviously, where most of us are just out of school, so we've been busy with school, haven't been able to pay that much attention to it. So this year, coming into the first year of uni, I think I've dedicate a little bit more time to it and hopefully push for some league wins and some cash from the buddies.
Yeah, not our league.
No, I won't be winning your league because unfortunately we're playing Dream Team for Bound for Glory, and I'm not much chop at Dream Team. I prefer Super Coach more than anything else.
Yeah. The codes will be given out shortly.
Yeah, if you'd like to, if there's interest, if you'd like to join, then post on our Twitter or our Facebook if you'd like to be a part of the Bound for Glory League, and if there's more than one interest, I'm sure we can get a couple of leagues up and running. Yeah, maybe even get the winner in for an interview.
So we're going to go to some AFL news.
Headlines.
Yeah, some headlines from today's papers. Yeah,
from the papers. So what does the Herald Sun have to say?
Bryce is right.
Yeah, Bryce is right. Ratton's putting the heat on Gibbs to take the next step this year.
Which I think he will.
Yeah, I'm fairly sure. You know, he's where has he played in the last couple of seasons? More off halfback than anything else.
Yeah, more in defence.
Things like that. So
he's come a long way since that infamous YouTube video. I'm sure everyone's seen.
Which was the YouTube video?
The Bryce Gibbs
where he squibbed it.
Oh, of course. Yeah. He was worried out of it by Stephen Milne.
Yeah.
I think he's this year. He's got the opportunity to take the next step.
Yep.
And I think he will. Actually, he's a former #1 pick, obviously, and he's got all the talent in the world, talent to burn. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how he goes this year.
It should be good.
We've got Travis Cloak in here as well on what is this page 40 of the Herald Sun. And his father's defending his decision to defer his contract talks till the end of the season. Now, do you think that he will go to Greater Western Sydney at the end of this year?
No.
Absolutely not.
He's just using them as leverage again.
You think?
Yeah. Like he used Essendon last year.
No, he won't.
But then, obviously, there's quotes attributed to Tom Scully and Gary Ablett, who both left. Gary Ablett's manager, Liam Pickering, March 2010, he said he just wants to play football and we will see what happens. Tom Scully, his manager, February 2011, we'll see how the season pans out. David Cloak, Travis Cloak's manager, yesterday, he wants to leave it till the end of the year. Can you notice a pattern?
Yeah, but David Cloak's always like that. He's a money... I won't say anything.
No, I probably shouldn't go there. But still, the quotes are very similar, and the end result has also been very similar in that Ablett and Scully both left their clubs.
We were speaking about Brad Scott earlier. One thing that I did notice, I'm not sure if it was today's headlines or yesterday, but he wants the draft age raised to 19. He's in agreement with people that have said that before, and he says that there should be an elite level academy for the prospective draftees. But there's 140 kids that are taken into the system every year, and there's hundreds that aren't taken in. So which ones get to be a part of the academy, which ones don't, and where does the money come from? I mean, it was a very good TV rights deal that the AFL got, but it's not an unlimited amount of money as well. So
it will run out at some point.
Mm-hmm.
I remember hearing there was a few rumours that there was going to be an AFL reserves competition.
Yeah, I mean, what's happened with that? I mean, have they set a time frame on it or anything like that?
There was just a few rumours on Foxtel that it was going to be set up this year, but it never got developed. So that...
I think we've just been told there was not enough money for the competition as well.
It's
always a problem in the AFL, never enough money.
But they tried the Foxtel Cup.
Yeah. I thought that was quite good.
I didn't mind the Foxtel Cup.
Yeah, I watched it. Yeah. A few good players have come from that as well. Richmond's got Steve Morris now, which he played for West Adelaide in the Foxtel Cup, and he performed quite well. So it really does give the state-level players another chance to shine, rather than just being picked out of obscurity, like quite a few are. Nick Dygan, for example. I know it wasn't Foxtel Cup back then, but a SANFL player.
Stephen Clifton went to Greater Western Sydney.
Yep.
He's named as an emergency for their side.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, their side is in the paper today, Greater Western Sydney side. It's somewhere in here.
Somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere in there. We know that they're debuting 17 new players. Kevin Sheedy's up to his old tricks again. They're missing a few due to injury. Don't think... who's not playing? Satanta's not playing. Scully's not playing.
Corns isn't playing.
Corns
Power's
isn't
not playing.
Yeah, so they are loading up on the young'uns, which, it'll be interesting to see how they go. I'm really looking forward to that as well.
Just before we go to a break, from the last segment to do with Dream Team, and we've got the code. It's 333310. So for all those out there that want to have a go at trying to beat us at Dream Team, it'll be some fun. So have a go.
4 3s and 1 0.
Yep. So
12 spots remaining.
Yep.
So best of luck for that.
And we'll be back with an interview with Rohan Connolly from The Age. So we'll be back in a minute.
If you want to catch the best rock of this generation, tune in to the Tim Tam and Forkman Show. The Tim Tam and Forkman Show, where you will find the best rock of this generation.
Yes, y'all. Feel the beat, y'all.
For your best fix of electronica on Melbourne radio, tune in to Cold as Squid, 8 p.m. Fridays on Sin FM. With Tomo and Rob holding it down on the desk, we bring you the fresh all night. We got everything from dubstep to minimal techno, so tune in and get your subs ready.
And we're back. We've got Rohan Connolly from The Age here. G'day, Rohan.
Hi guys, pleasure to be here.
It's fantastic to have you.
Yeah, you're the first in-studio guest that we've had, so it's a great honour for you as well, so it's quite good.
No, look, I'm suitably chuffed. I'll certainly be putting it on the CV at the end of my career.
Exactly.
Absolutely, yeah. That's what you want.
Exactly. First off, I know it's not a question we've laid out here before, but how did you get into the Age journo? The progress from school level up to The Age.
Well, I actually, you guys are all far too young to remember this, but I actually started on the Sun News Pictorial, which is now known as the Herald Sun.
Yep.
And I guess there were two connections. My father was a career journalist, and he started on the Argus, which folded in 1957, but he worked on the Sun. He then went on to the Melbourne Herald, which was an evening newspaper, and he actually started as a sports reporter, ended up as a film critic, so became progressively more intellectual for some reason. But I grew up, with a really big interest in journalism, and from the age of about 5 or 6, I for whatever reason, just became totally obsessed with football. So I got to say, I feel very fortunate in that I knew exactly what I wanted to do career-wise from the time I was about 6 or 7 years old, and very fortunately I've been able to do that.
Why the Bombers?
Okay,
just jump straight in there.
Good question, and one I've been wondering about myself after the last decade, because it hasn't been a good one. Just a family connection, like a lot of people. My parents were actually from Perth, but my father barracked for Perth, who had exactly the same jumpers as Essendon wore. And when my mum and dad moved to Melbourne, they lived in Marco Polo Street, Essendon, which is a stone's throw from Windy Hill. By the time I came along, we were living in East Melbourne, where I've actually spent my entire life. So there wasn't much of a connection there, but just a family thing. It was pretty tough though. Like, I went to primary school in the 1970s, and Essendon, frankly, were crap. And it was sort of the middle of Richmond's recruiting territory, and Richmond were great. They won back-to-back flags in 73-4, and I was literally the only Essendon supporter at my school. Although I'm told I converted a few along the way. I've got an old school photo from grade 3, and there's about 3 kids wearing Essendon jumpers in it. So I did my PR work for the club at a very early age.
A bit of reversal of fortune with Essendon and Richmond now as well. So
yeah. Well, I think I got on the right bandwagon. Put it that way.
Absolutely. No, it was quite good, especially with the herd and baby bombers and all that. It was.
Look, Essendon's, they're a great club. They've got very passionate following. Some of my fondest memories in footy are of just being a kid going out to Windy Hill, and not just Windy Hill. Actually, one of the things I miss about football from then is, I used to be a kid going to watch games at up to 8 or 9 different venues across town, and it was a real. The adventure was sort of part of the fun. It wasn't just about the football. I can remember at the age of about 14, 15, nearly getting my head kicked in and out the Western Oval. I can remember one day...
It's a rough area.
Oh, yeah. It wasn't as bad as Victoria Park. I had several incidents at Victoria Park, including... Actually, I'm sort of switching forward here, but 1993, the famous Nicky Winmar jumper lifting incident, I covered that game, and it was a feral place, Victoria Park, and I'll never forget... the rooms were tiny, and St Kilda won that day. It was the first time they'd won there for almost 20 years. And we did the press Ken Sheldon was coach. We did the press conference after the game with Kenny standing in the race because there was no room in the change rooms. So there's about a dozen media crowd around Kenny Sheldon with about literally 30 Collingwood supporters standing over the cyclone wire race, gobbing on us the whole time. So I had a fair dry cleaning bill after that day.
Looking forward to this season. As an early prediction, your predictions for the season: the top 8 grand finalists, Coleman medalists, Brownlow medalists, things like that.
Yeah, I think I can rattle them off. I've had to do them, put them. We have the Age has a pre-season magazine which came out last Sunday, and I had to do a ladder for that. Actually, I had to do it a couple of weeks before it came out. There's a bit of a lag time. So, do you want me to run through my 8?
Please, absolutely.
Okay. Well, I've got Geelong winning it again, which doesn't seem to be a popular tip, much to my surprise. I know they've lost Cameron Ling and Brad Ottens, but I think they can be covered. So they're my tip. I think Collingwood will be up there again. I'm starting to worry about the amount of bad luck they've had, but maybe they're getting it out of the way early.
The popular pick seems to be Hawthorn.
Yeah, everyone's going for them.
Well, look, they're a huge chance. Look, basically, I think the top 3 are almost inseparable in terms of talent, and it'll probably end up being decided by injuries. And the luck factor, I reckon, often gets underplayed in footy because a lot of teams are pretty close to each other, and it ends up coming down to those little 1 or 2 things. So, look, I've got Hawthorn 3rd, but I could easily see them winning it. Pardon me. I've got a bit of a smoky for 4th. I've got a really good vibe about Fremantle this year. I think they've got enormous talent. They've got a huge X factor. I reckon they've got some of the best young players in the league. Fife, Hill, Morabito. Sandilands and Pavlich are huge weapons for them. But I think the single biggest factor with them is the coach. I think Ross Lyon's close to the best coach in the caper, and I think we'll probably look back on what he did at St Kilda 10 years from now and call that one of the great coaching performances because, let's be honest, it was a good list. It wasn't necessarily a great list. A lot of superstars, but it really fell away badly at the back end. And, to have come within... I mean, they were so desperately unlucky, weren't they? I mean, they missed out in 2009 basically by a kick. Yeah. And in 2000... And a bounce of the ball in 2010. So he's a huge coach. He'll toughen them up defensively, and I think they're a big show. And then, look, just rounding out the 8, I've got Carlton 5th. I like the way they've developed. I think they've got a good balance now. It's not all loaded up in midfield. I think they've really fixed up either end. West Coast 6th. I think they might suffer a bit having lost Lacroix and now Nikoski for half a year. Sydney 7th, and that's as much because every year everyone doesn't rate them and every year they defy us, so I thought, bugger it, I'm not doing that anymore. And a bit of less of a smoky now, and this is what I want to stress here. I did my 8 before the NAB Cup, and I had Adelaide in the 8 before then, so I'm feeling better about it now. But they're a classic case to me of a underperformed side that needed a bit of freshening up. I think Brent Sanderson really knows his stuff. They've got good talent. I think Tippett and Walker have just sort of scratched the tip of the iceberg with their talent, and they're a really potentially lethal forward combination. And, as we saw in the NAB Cup, and, read what you will into the NAB Cup, but I thought very encouraging signs there. So
They won games of football.
Yeah, they did. And look, the NAB Cup Grand Final was a really high standard competitive game. In fact, I reckon the NAB Cup gets undersold as a guide. If you look back, there's been a couple of aberrations with Carlton, but for most of the last, the sniggers tell me someone's a Carlton supporter. But I think if you look at most of the last decade, it's been a pretty good form guide. I think something like, just let me off the top of my head, 24 NAB Cup Grand Finalists since 2000. 19 of them have gone on to play finals. So, it's a pretty reliable form guide, I reckon.
Cool. One thing, I'm a Richmond supporter, and you have us listed as 14th. Now, we got 12th last year. What has us dropping down the ladder?
See, this is the thing with doing your ladders, and it's often not that you don't rate a team, it's just that you rate others more. And I think, you've got those top three, then you've got another 3 or 4. And then I reckon there's a group of as many as 10 teams who are, that close to each other.
Yeah.
And like I said before, it'll come down to luck and injuries. Now, Richmond, I've got no doubt they're on the right track. I think Damien Hardwick's an excellent, smart coach. They actually remind me a little bit of Carlton about 3 years ago in that most of the riches seem to be stacked in midfield.
Yeah.
Obviously, Rewalt's a great talent. I'm a little bit worried about them defensively, but they're aware of their weaknesses.
Exactly.
And look, don't get me wrong, and that's what I'm saying. I mean, you end up having to sort out that flock of 10, and there's always one who, when you do your ladder and look at it, you go, oh, Jesus, I've got them too low.
Yeah.
But look, I always hope everyone gets that pre-season magazine, reads it, and then throws it away, because I don't want to get nailed for the wrong prediction 6 months down the track.
Yeah. That's actually leads me into a good question. A lot of journalists make a lot of outlandish claims, but they're not really held very accountable for it. What's your opinion on that?
No, look, I think that's a fair point. I guess it depends on sort of what sort of claims they're making. I mean, the stuff I tend to do for The Age and on radio and whatever, it tends to be more game-based. So I guess the things I deserve to be held accountable for are those sorts of predictions, which is fine. I think it's more of a serious issue when you're talking about political stuff and claims are being made that don't subsequently come true. And it's like there's a broader issue here with the media in general. Probably talking about the front pages of the paper here in politics, and when people are wronged, and say newspapers have to publish corrections. One thing that I'd be annoyed by if I wasn't in the media is the fact that, you can get something wrong and blow it all over page 1, and then the correction appears a month later on page 56 next to the Cranbourne Dogs results. And one of the things, I'm sure you guys would have heard about the Finkelstein media inquiry, and one of the things that's come out of that a lot of my colleagues are worried by, but I actually think it's a good thing, is that accountability. So, one of the results of that might be that when people get it wrong, they will be held more accountable. You'll have to publish apologies and corrections more prominently.
Yeah.
And look, I think that's fair enough. If we're going to put people out to dry publicly, we have to be answerable for that. And I don't have a problem with that at all.
Just taking a Richmond example for that, I remember in 2008 or 9, there was the Mark Robinson making comments about Terry Wallace, saying he was sacked. But he did make an apology for that, so I've respect for him for that.
Yeah, no, look, Robbo, he's an interesting character, Robbo, isn't he? He's sort of become larger than life with that AFL 360 thing. Look, we all get it wrong. I guess, probably one of my more infamous ones was writing a story about James Hird making a comeback at the end of 2008. And I'm not trying to wriggle out of it, but I've always felt there was a fair bit of substance to that story, and things obviously changed. But you can't expect people to take that into account. And I copped a whack, and I deserved it. I've actually, now I think about it, I've had a worse one than that. I don't know why I'm about to reveal this, but when I was working, I've actually just changed from 3AW to SEN, but I worked for 3AW for 16 years, and there was a back in 2010. Melbourne played the Bulldogs at the MCG, and I did the boundary, so sit on the boundary during the game, do the rooms afterwards, do the interviews. Melbourne just got pipped on the post. They should have won that night, so I did an interview in the Bulldogs rooms, went into the Melbourne rooms. Their media bloke, who, lovely bloke, very organised, he said, we'll get you Jack Trengove. And so I'm getting the gear and frantically trying to get ready. Player comes out, I'm soaked to the skin and wanting to get out of there and start talking to him on the basis it was Jack Trengove. Unfortunately, it was James Frawley, and I copped a bit of stick about that one too. So they're my two big clangers, but I guess I'd like to think in what's now a nearly 30-year career, I haven't had too many.
Leading on from that, how much freedom do you actually have as a contracted football writer?
Myself personally,
Yeah.
look, a fair bit. I think it's interesting. I think football coverage has got so much bigger in my career that people are able to sort of specialise now, and we have a fair bit of that at the Age. It's not a formal thing; it just sort of evolves. And for example, like Caroline Wilson, her specialty is football politics and commission wheelings and dealings, and she handles that, and that I'm very grateful for that because it allows me to sort of concentrate more on the game and the coaches and the players, and that's my great love. So, basically, if you come up with a reasonable idea for a story and you've got a good sports editor, and we do, our sports editor is a guy, Alex Lavelle, and he's terrific. I think he's close to the best sports editor the Age has ever had, and we're pretty organised, and if I talk to him, run something by him, I'll generally be able to do it. So it's nice to have that, but I guess it's sort of about putting in the hard yards. Like I've spent plenty of years being told what to do and doing that, and I guess after a while you sort of think you across things enough to be able to have your own freedom to an extent.
Yeah. With the evolution of football media and the way it's reported, how have you adapted from the transition from predominantly print media, like we've got the papers here today? How have you adapted to the transition to online media? And now we're seeing the Herald Sun with their paywall and things like that.
Yeah, no, that's a great question because that's one of the big challenges for newspapers now is how we're going to adapt to that new environment. Look, I like to think I've been okay with that. Probably I started doing a video for Real Footy, the Age's football site. We've been doing that now nearly 8 or 9 years. It's called Footy Fix. Everyone, jump on and have a look. First one's next week. So I love doing that. Blogging has become a bigger feature of it. I do a weekly blog. I think it's on Thursdays. I enjoy that, and I think the readers enjoy it too. You guys tell me, but one thing I've really noticed is that when you do a blog, or if there's a story online that's open for reader comments, people love being able to have that input, and particularly if you then respond to those comments. And to that end, look, I should mention Twitter because it's quite funny. I've been... first of all, I've got a crappy old phone, which isn't a smartphone, so I can't get on the phone and do it. But I've been very resistant to Twitter, and I've had people on my back about it for a couple of years. I've been very resistant, A, because I like my downtime, and it's sort of like, when can you get away from work? And B, I thought I'd cop a fair bit of shit, to be perfectly honest. But I bit the bullet and joined up for Twitter about, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I'm absolutely loving it. It's great as a news source. It's a great way of being able to stay across what's happening. But again, I love having the interaction, and it's been a bit of a surprise to me. People tweet you things and ask questions and whatever, and look, I do everything. I still fortunately haven't got that many followers, so I probably won't get many more followers, but I try to get back to people wherever I can, and I think people are really appreciative of that. And it gets back to that thing about accountability, doesn't it? Like if you're going to come out and say something, you should be in a position where if people want you to justify that, you can publicly do that. So, new media is great. I'm really excited by it. It presents challenges for newspapers. There may come a time, years down the track where you don't see newspapers in their traditional form. They are an online thing, and maybe you have weekend editions. But I still think there is room in some form for newspapers to exist.
Yep. Yeah. There's nothing I like more than reading the paper in the mornings and things like that. Unfortunately, we are out of time, but we would like to thank you so much for coming in. Obviously, it's a huge honour for us to have you come in and talk to us. Obviously, we're all pretty, pardon? We're all obviously pretty interested in sports media and going forward in the future and things like that. So, thanks very much for coming in.
Just one last thing.
Yeah,
Sorry to
sure.
interrupt.
Look, I've got all day. You got a schedule. I'm actually off today. It's really weird. It's the first time I haven't been going to the first game of an AFL season, so it's a bit weird. But far away.
Why North Melbourne? You've got Caro who just hates us.
Yep.
And then you've got you who write articles that can't be described.
Is it an attempt to balance out
Yeah.
the sort of what we perceive as, I suppose, hate from Carroll?
No, not at all. No, look, I've always had a bit of time for North. I really admire the way that, on the smell of an oily rag, they've achieved so much. They're probably the team of the 90s. Look, I'd have to say the thing that mobilised me a bit was the whole Gold Coast thing. I felt that there was a bit of an agenda being driven. I know North feels like it came from Caro. I don't feel it was just her, or I'm not sure how much of an agenda it was, but it got to a point with me where I suppose my supporter hat came on, and, I thought, well, this club deserves to decide its own identity, not someone else. And so I wrote a couple of things sort of saying, well, let them decide. And they did, and I admire them even more for hanging around. They're in a better position than they've been for decades, and good luck to them. Yeah, no, I have got a soft spot for the Roos.
Great to hear.
Lovely to hear.
Lovely to hear. About time someone at age did.
Yeah. We don't get a lot of love.
No, well, look, the media in general isn't loved overly, but look, I think it's important to remember that essentially we're all in the job because we love football, and that's something journos in a lot of other areas don't have the benefit of. So, it's a great game, and we love covering it.
Terrific. Well, I think we're going to jump to some ads, but just thanks very much for coming in. It's been a pleasure to talk to you.
Pleasure, guys. Anytime.
So it's Matt here, and watch me do this one.
Oh, that was fantastic.
Oh my god, that looked fantastic. I can't believe I did that. That looked so good. I mean,
So
it looked
good.
great. Problem is, though, Sam, I realised with radio, you can't really see what we're doing.
But if you would like to see what we're doing, tune in to Get Serial on Channel 31, 7:30 to 8:30 weekdays. Get Serial TV with Matt and Sam.
And if you've got digital TV, you can do Channel 40. Who's that coming in?
Guys, what are you doing in here? Guys, this is the Get Serial Radio, on SYN.
Guys, you don't have the face for TV. Don't be bitter about it.
Exactly, We'll
Watch
keep it
Get
going.
Serial TV.
Or listen to Get Serial Radio, 6 to 9 a.m. weekdays.
Only on SYN.
Where'd that voice come from?
The magic of radio.
Naruto.
So believe it!
Bleach.
Behold my Bankai.
Sailor Moon.
Tiara! Magic!
Pokemon.
Now, quick attack!
Just some of the epic anime featured on SYN's new show, Anime Ball Z.
Tune in Tuesdays at 9 a.m. for all your anime needs.
Character breakdowns, plot holes, trivia, and giveaways.
All for anime lovers of any level.
So join Bo and Criddle for Season 3 on Anime Ball Z.
If you want to catch the best rock of this generation, tune in to the Tim Tam and Forkman Show. The Tim Tam and Forkman Show, where you will find the best rock of this generation.
That was a wonderful ad. All right, so right now I'll be talking about the Matt Rendell controversy or racism saga. And he had his bit to say on Footy Classified, but I'll just say a few things about the Footy Classified thing first. Carolyn Wilson, that was extremely unprofessional behaviour by you throughout the entire interview. You didn't listen to Rendell at all. You interrupted him repeatedly, and you were fishing for headlines the whole time.
Isn't that typical, Carrot?
Yes.
Hey, look, listen. Let's not burn the bridge before we come to them. I mean, she could potentially one day be a guest on the show. She's not banned, so.
No, I think her journalism is generally good, but when you're doing that sort of thing and asking loaded questions the entire time, same thing goes for Gary Lyon. I think he said something along the lines of, if there was an Indigenous player and a white player who were identical in skill, who would get drafted?
I did see that, and that threw me off a little bit. I was like,
poor form. But I've just got a rant to say about Jason Misford and Ali Fahur. If Matt Rendell can be taken at face value with what he said, and Misford and Fahur really did take offence to the idea of establishing a pre-draft Indigenous academy, then they're foolish. The AFL has transformed massively in the past 10 years. I think we had a coach say that even in the past 5 years, it's 4 times as hard in terms of professionalism. And the days of being half-hearted in terms of professionalism are over. You can't make the grade anymore based solely on raw talent, such as a great player in Gary Ablett Sr. used to turn up to training whenever he wanted and leave whenever he wanted.
Well, that was commonplace in the 70s and stuff. People would be training, smoking and things like that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's not just a reference to Indigenous players. It's difficult for anyone to make the transition to a full-time professional environment, and some people will find it tougher due to their backgrounds. We've seen Irish, people from country-based towns and stuff like that. They've just found the AFL football too much to handle. So from what I gathered, what Rendell was trying to say was there'll be fewer and fewer people being drafted from disadvantaged backgrounds, and they won't be able to make the transition. So a very interesting fact coming from last year's national draft, there was not one single draftee from the Northern Territory. Now, it might have just been due to chance. However, I don't think this is the case. In previous years, there have been very few. I'm not sure if he was quite hyped before the draft. Waylon Manson, I think it was either WA or Northern Territory, but he was kicking 10 goals a week. 1 week I think he kicked 12 goals or something like that. And he didn't get drafted because the way he performed in the interviews was just so subpar, and he wanted to go home straight away. That sort of thing. So that's what we're talking about, what Rendell is talking about in terms of making an academy so these kids do have a chance. But if the AFL want to bury their head in the sand and not put in place programs that prepare young footballers for the rigours of AFL life, then it's quite possible that the days of Indigenous footballers being a rarity in the game rather than relatively overrepresented, that might return. So I think about 10% of AFL footballers are Indigenous, and only 2.5% of the population of Australia is Indigenous. So if this shift back to the old style where it was predominantly white, normal Australian game, if that happens, the AFL as well as the general public will be worse off, as the great game of Australian rules football will be poorer for it. So my main issue is the people that are in power, that they can do things about this, AFL representatives, they actually don't do anything about it because they're not mature enough to discuss the issue in an open and forthright manner, and their closed-minded behaviour hinders their own objectives. So there's a fine line between being tolerant and knowledgeable of other cultures and being so politically correct that these sort of issues can't be raised. So, thoughts?
Well said. To be honest, firstly, well said.
All right. I would on Manson. I think that he's really a good example of this, but I guess a lot of white Australians don't get drafted either, even though a lot of people pre-draft tip them to go really high. I think there was a lot of people last year that slipped through, didn't get drafted at all, not even in the rookie draft.
But by the same token, I dare say there probably weren't that many white Australians kicking 10 goals a game, and taking, 14 shots a goal a game, and then going back up to the bush to live for, a week or so.
Whilst that's true, I think he was playing in a lower level than a lot of the other players were. Like a lot of Western Australian people that he would have been competing with were up in the top levels of the waffle and performing well. So
that's true.
I think he did play a game for Claremont.
And he kicked 8 goals.
Yeah. So it's not like it's a one-off thing. But
there was a player for GWS who got was it Stevenson? Or?
Yeah, Isaiah Stevens.
Yeah, and he played well, but then he went back. So that's an example of.
Yeah, it took Mark of the Year, in my opinion, more than even Walker and Nick Nat and Cracker. If you have a chance, look on YouTube for Isaiah Stevens' mark. It's absolutely beautiful.
The same thing happened with Nathan Cracker. Obviously, he probably never reached the heights of talent that he was expected to at Port Adelaide, but he was traded to the Gold Coast, and I can recall vividly a game against Brisbane. I think that he kicked 5 goals and pretty much won the game. Was taking hangers in the goal square and things like that. and people were starting to sit up and take notice. Maybe Nathan Cracker's finally going to fulfil the talent and the beliefs that everyone has in him. And less than a season later, he's quit the game and he's no longer playing anywhere. And this is due probably more to family issues than anything else, which I think personally are a bigger deal to Aboriginal or Indigenous people than they are to white Australians.
Well said.
Yeah. I do try.
Yes. Any other comments?
I'm not really sure. Are there any other players that have dropped out of the league due to
Joyce, what about Troy Taylor?
What about Troy Taylor?
Troy Taylor.
Well, it was well documented that he was a troubled child before coming into the AFL system. I think Emma Quayle, great journalist by the way, rated him top 10 in terms of talent, but he went at 51.
And that was probably due to perceived problems with his background and his behavioural issues.
And
Relton Roberts.
Relton Roberts. Just pot shots at Richmond, is it? But with Troy Taylor, I don't know. It might be just an observed on his part of what AFL football was supposed to be. I mean, I think he thought it would be some sort of vacation and didn't put in the effort. I know a direct quote from him was, "They didn't buy me a house, so I don't like them." That's actually
a direct quote.
Yes. So and I saw an article where his brother was interviewed in the Northern Territory, and they were asking, is Troy ever going to have a chance at playing AFL football, and where is he now? And to both questions, he said, "No bloody idea." So, he might just be happy to, live in the Northern Territory, and just take a more relaxed look at life, which is perfectly fine.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Not everyone's cut out for AFL football.
I think you mentioned with no one being taken from Northern Territory last year, there was a player, Ross, I can't remember his last name, but he had a lot of talent and a lot of people thought that he would have went maybe in the top 50 of the draft. He's gone back and tried to prove himself once again this year. What do you think that Northern Territory is just not maybe as strong as Victoria, South Australia and Western Australia in terms of under-18 talent?
Well, they have fewer people for starters,
exactly,
and
less of a talent pool.
It's isolated as well, so it's harder to get between places. I mean, it's not everyone has planes to get places and stuff like that. But again, even the junior development academies don't exist. Like they've got the AIS in Canberra and the TAC Cup and that sort of thing. But in the Northern Territory, there really isn't that sort of thing. So I'm thinking that's what Rendell is trying to say. You need those sort of elite academies for these young Indigenous players, which there aren't at the moment.
Do you agree with Rendell's comment about the Aboriginals having their own separate draft?
No. There shouldn't be a separate draft. It's not like they're...
This isn't 1950s America.
No. It's not apartheid either. Yeah. But no.
McLeod came from Northern Territory, didn't he?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. But it's clear that Rendell is not a racist. Many Indigenous players and past players have said that, and the way that he spoke, really, he seems like he was exasperated with the way he was being treated. He said, "I would hate to be seen by the McLeods, the Petrenkos, that sort of thing. That's, as a racist." So
he was crying for 30 hours, wasn't it?
Oh, something like that.
Something like that.
5-pound knot in his stomach or something like that.
We're going to move on to an issue again with someone who's of an Indigenous background. He's not really.
No, not at all.
No. Indigenous as in outside of Australia. Indigenous, Aboriginal or Torres Strait. He's not.
No.
All right, I'm just going to move on.
He's not at all.
Not at all. All right. He's a white Australian.
No.
Oh, there you go.
He's an international.
He's Samoan.
Samoan. So he's Indigenous in terms of being Samoan.
He's Indigenous to Samoa.
That's what I mean.
Nothing in terms of Australia.
That's red-faced. Probably edit that out. Israel Folau, he was reported twice against Richmond in a NAB Cup game, and it was described on the AFL website as Folau being hit with 2 rough conduct charges, one for a minor incident against Daniel Jackson, and another in the third term involving Brett Dillio, which went unnoticed by all bar the umpires. Now, that's a direct quote from the AFL website, and I think, personally, you would struggle to find any other report of an incident that was reported that would have language like that in it. Where,
There's video footage of it.
but still, you know what I mean.
It's a rugby-style tackle, and if Delidio was injured, I would have been furious. He was dropped right on his shoulder, so... and there was also an incident where he spoiled a contest and basically copped Newman across the chin as well, which went completely unnoticed, and Newman was down for about 5 minutes or something.
You worked for the AFL's PR department or something. Anyway, the two players that Folau was involved with played at the game, suffered no long-term ill effects. The match review panel met, discussed, and threw out the charges. That was, I think, Tuesday night. So Folau is free to play against Sydney tonight.
Big surprise.
Yep. Now, Adrian Anderson had released an article that he said he met claims that the AFL stepped in, which were echoed pretty much across Melbourne's football media, that he greeted it with scorn and claimed that it's an insult to the people that sit on the match review panel, and that, you know, it's an insult to the thought that there are people outside the AFL watching AFL, that they think that people can be influenced by the AFL or the AFL's marketing considerations. I say that because Folau has had a huge amount of money put behind him for you know, someone who probably doesn't have the same amount of footballing skill as someone coming out of the under-18s. He's paid more than he's worth in terms of football skill. His status in the game is, in my opinion, more of a marketing tool as a football player. The AFL's invested money in him, a lot of money, and a key step in Folau paying back the AFL for their investment is his involvement with the inaugural game tonight. His presence in the game signifies interest from a predominantly NRL-focused state, and if he doesn't play against the Swans, a number of people that would watch simply won't. I'm of the opinion the AFL is not going to let a player, or perhaps more appropriately their project, and their $6 million investment miss the most important and first available major marketing opportunity. I think short of decapitating a player with his bare hands, the AFL would have done absolutely everything they possibly could to make sure that Folau was able to play against the Swans. So, in short, I think they stepped in and lent on the tribunal. That's my opinion. Thoughts, please.
They're separate entities, though, right? The AFL and the match review panel, I think.
I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah. So
would it be similar to the Barry Hall case with Maguire a few years back?
What happened
with that?
You remember he had didn't he have prior convictions and he punched him in the gut?
Do you mean what?
No, not Staker.
You mean Staker?
No, Staker he copped across the
2005. The prelim.
I remember that. Yeah.
And then Barry was going to be rubbed out.
Yeah,
and then
for the grand final, and then he wasn't.
And then Sydney won the flag.
Yeah.
But the question is, why wasn't he rubbed out? Why? Did the AFL lean on the tribunal and say, well, we want Barry to play in the grand final? Do we want, you know...
You would think so, but there's no evidence.
Money?
Money, maybe, yeah.
Growth of the game, if Sydney had won the premiership.
All right, well, for this isolated incident, it's the same as growth of the game in New South Wales with the Greater Western Sydney. Do you think that there's any possibility that the AFL would have lent on the tribunal and said, buddies, pals, mates, guys, can you just maybe just throw those charges out for us, guys?
I don't think they'd need to, though. I think they'd know that already. Like, let's face it, they see Israel Folau reported and they go, uh-oh, well...
Same thing, though. Do you think there's an agenda?
Yeah. Well, yeah, effectively, because I reckon none of them would have wanted him rubbed out for that first match.
That's true.
Is that similar to Goods?
In what terms?
You know how Goods... He never gets reported.
Favoured for the Brown.
Yeah, like, he can do anything.
They're not the only players.
He's a good player, but I mean, he does get. I probably think he probably doesn't deserve all the Brownlow votes he gets every year. Maybe some of his 3 votes should be 2 votes or 1 vote.
Last year was about right, I think, in terms of Goods.
Yeah.
How much did he get last year?
In the teens, I think.
The teens? Yeah, somewhere in the teens.
Yeah.
Joel Selwood's come out this week on Twitter and basically agreed with you. I think he was a little bit suspect of the MRP.
I did actually see that tweet. Someone retweeted it.
Yeah.
I did see that.
I do love the way he backpedaled and said, no, I was just saying that he should have been thrown out. You know, not that I was saying that they would have intervened.
Yeah.
It was just saying that, of course, I'm not surprised. It wasn't anything.
Yeah.
So... yeah, that was interesting.
Coming from Captain Duck himself.
He made it very ambiguous.
Yeah.
So it was quite good.
It's good to see a football player actually speaking their mind instead of just following the AFL's agenda.
Yeah.
But yeah, so going back to the original point, I personally think the AFL is not going to let a player of his substantial marketing status miss the first major marketing opportunity for his club. I just don't think it'll happen.
So, sorry to interrupt, but if he belted someone behind the ball and there was no footage, do you reckon he would have got rubbed out?
It's a tough call. It is a tough call. I think, like I said, if there's absolutely zero chance that he can get off the charges, the AFL would absolutely have to suspend him. If if the umpires see him knocking a bloke out behind play, they have to suspend him. But with this, I think even the language in the report that was on the AFL website, they've done everything within their power to hose the incident down first of all, and then potentially they've jumped on the tribunal. You never know. I think they have, but you just never know. I think it's just the way that the AFL works.
Yeah.
They want full out of play, they'll get full out of play.
I can see in further rounds if the same sort of thing were to happen, him getting suspended, but it was the right move. I mean, you probably would get a few less thousand turning up to the game if Folau wasn't playing.
Yeah.
So he really was needed.
It's a point I'll be watching tonight, as I'm sure you all will be. But it's a point of interest. First game of the season, first game of the GWS ever, and it's in New South Wales in a rugby heartland. You got an ex-rugby player playing in the game. So
and you'll probably have some rugby people tuning in just out of spite.
Exactly.
Hoping.
Yeah, that's my point. They go, well, Folau's not playing, might as well not watch now. Stupid AFL.
Yeah.
Things like that. Yeah.
What happens if Folau kicks 6 goals?
Then I will run naked down the street.
We're holding you to that.
Yeah.
Not if he kicks 7, just 6.
Yeah, if he goes over 6, I won't be doing anything.
Okay, so I think we'll move on to the preview of the
Absolutely.
Sydney versus GWS game tonight.
First game of the year.
That's a much better segue, by the way.
Yeah, there we go.
You're learning, it's good.
It's great. Okay, so obviously I think we're all going to go with the same tip here.
I believe, I think we're going to have to go with
But
Sydney.
by how many? That's the thing.
If GWS did win, would be the greatest upset ever?
Yes.
Yeah. Without question.
Yes.
And I think that as for a margin, I'm going to go with a quadrillion.
Oh.
So all the points ever will be against
all the points
everything.
I reckon it might be a bit closer, only 75, so...
I put 63 as my margin.
Yeah, I've got about 10 goals as well. I think they're a little bit more ready than the Suns were. I don't know, I think they've got... of course, Gold Coast had Ablett and Bock, who are, fantastic players, and Riscatelli as
all
well.
Australians.
Yep. But I think they've got a lot of older heads as well, who obviously they've come basically just for 1 year.
But they're mostly injured, though. That's the thing.
Yeah. Well, I think Chad Corns, he's probably...
Is he playing? Oh, no, he's playing. He is. Oh, I must have got up for it.
Yeah. So him and McDonald, I think their main role is to just basically shield people like Cornelio and whatnot.
I believe, I think McDonald is playing sort of a playing coach role.
Yeah.
He's an on-field leader, obviously, because he's double the age of the majority of the players on the list, but...
Dream team.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a complete lock for your dream teams on the bench or even on the ground. James McDonald, get on it. What's the interesting matchups there? Who's Folau playing on? He's playing on Ted Richards. Yeah. You're a monster, Ted Richards.
That's probably one he'll actually win there.
Dylan Shield actually is playing his first game. He didn't play any games in the pre-season.
Good player, though.
Yeah, he's highly rated by a lot of people. So
Buckley rated him in his pre-season assessment as well. He thought he would do quite well.
I can see that working. I'm looking forward to see how Jeremy Cameron goes on Heath Grundy there at full forward for the Greater Western Sydney.
Apparently he would have gone number 1 if he was in the actual draft.
Extremely good player. Great hands.
What are the tactics you reckon they'll use on Goods? Get a tag? Or
play 4 players on him.
Yeah. Play the whole team
Hurt
down.
him.
I reckon Folau might get 5 minutes on him.
Yeah, actually, that's
That'd be a
probably
good learning
likely.
experience for him, yeah.
Sheedy will do anything, really. He'll just mix them all round.
Classic.
Crazy Sheeds.
To think, though, GWS's pre-season form hasn't been that bad.
No, it hasn't. It's been
They beat Gold Coast.
They did.
They nearly beat Bulldogs.
Got flogged by Richmond.
This is coming into a Richmond show now.
And then they nearly beat Collingwood's third side.
That's true, yeah.
But it's still Collingwood.
Great goal by Jackson Payne, by the way, to win that.
They got the Cal Ward there in the centre playing on Kieran J. That'll be an interesting match. They're both hard nuts.
Player.
A shout out to Cal Ward. Actually played at my junior club, Spotswood, so representing. It's nice. Good to see someone making it up all the way up to the AFL there as a captain as well. It's fantastic.
Is he a co-captain? Or?
Yeah, co-captain with Phil Davis.
Yes.
And Luke Powell. We're not going to make the same mistake as the footy show where they guessed half the people and finally got it right.
Definitely Luke Powell.
So yes, it is definitely Luke Powell.
Take that, the footy show.
Interesting. He's not playing. Is he injured or?
He's injured.
Who is this?
Luke Powell.
Oh, Luke Powell. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, that's why he's not playing. Otherwise, he would. Phil Davis is tossing the coin. So
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Who's in there for Sydney? Anyone worth mentioning?
I think
probably a few.
One of the things
Anonymous.
Sam Reid.
Great hands.
Yeah.
Luke Parker.
Yeah, Luke Parker as well.
Yeah, he's been huge this pre-season. And they've also got a first-year player. The player making a debut, Harry Cunningham, who
rookie,
who's impressive during pre-season.
Is Gary Rowan playing?
Yeah, he is. Yep.
Him and Jetta are going to blitz through the midfield. If they get as good as they can, they've gone from one of the slower sides to one of the quicker ones with those
I
players.
think they're trying to add some excitement to the team because obviously the last couple of years they've been seen as sort of the dour, very defensive side, and additions
With
like
good
Rowan and Cunningham and all those players that add a bit of speed and a bit of excitement. Jetta as well. And they can't kick straight.
Is Tommy Walsh playing tonight?
No, he's not.
Nope.
He'll get a game though. He's got real.
There's been a thread started on Big Footy about that actually. Like,
Didn't Stephen J. Peake say he was the greatest footballer since Carey?
Who?
Tommy Walsh?
No, yeah, Tommy Walsh.
God, no.
At training.
Wow.
All right.
Jeez.
Very.
In terms of what?
Outlandish claims.
Yeah. Like, he's got good potential, but that's going a bit too far.
All right, so
if that is wrong, I'm sorry, Stephen. You're a lawyer. I have no money.
We'll go around the table here and just throw out a tip and a margin. Obviously, we didn't get that out quite properly. So
Kajillion?
Yeah, I'll go with Sydney by a quadrillion.
Cool.
Quadrillion, all the points ever in the world.
Sydney by 63.
Swans by 10 goals.
Sydney by 30.
And I had Sydney by 73. Oh. Okay, that's
pretty generous.
Well,
I think
30 points.
I think GWS might give him a fright.
No.
So, yeah. No, I think our tips will be safe. I think it'll all be 1 from 1 by the end of tonight.
Yes.
It'll be good.
Yes.
I'm still tipping Sydney, but GWS will be closer than people will think.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we can move on to the broader look at the entire season. Obviously, it's why we're here. It's why we're doing this radio show. We all love football, and it's back tonight. How good is it? Love that shit. So, tips for the premiership.
Hawks.
Pies.
Geelong.
And I am still going to lock on for the time being with West Coast, despite them losing everyone.
Says the Collingwood supporter.
Yeah.
Very brave.
Mainly because I just can't stand seeing a Geelong and Hawthorn win it again.
I can't stand seeing Collingwood go anywhere near the 8.
Yeah.
His eyes bleed.
That's right, we won't be meeting you guys.
Would you compare the Hawks of 2012 to the Bulldogs of 2010?
No, they're better than that.
No, they're better than that.
I think they've got more of a forward threat than the Dogs ever did.
More of a threat, everything, really.
Yeah.
Oh, the Dogs had Hall.
Yeah.
And he did kick 80 goals that year.
He did?
Yeah, the problem was he didn't have anyone else kicking the goals with him.
Yes.
Whereas the Hawks have Franklin kicking goals, Rioli kicking goals, Ruffhead will be back, he'll be kicking goals. Gunston, Hale, I can go on. I won't, but I could.
They got Hall too late, the Bulldogs. They should have had him 2 years before, or someone 2 years before.
Unfortunate.
How about tips for Brownlow?
It's a tough one. It's an open field this year, I think.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going with the general theory that the person that should have won the year before will win it this year, so Pendlebury.
Yeah, I'm going Pendles as well.
Yeah.
I think C. Judd again.
3 votes.
3 votes.
I actually had Selwood, so I think it's about his turn.
Adam Goods, no. I'd have to go with Pendlebury as well. I think he's just set for a huge season.
Will a forward ever win the Brownlow?
Buddy will be.
Franklin's the best bet.
Well, Lockett won it. So
yeah. That was in a different era.
Pendles or Buddy. It depends what kind of year Buddy has, and he'll get himself suspended, so it's...
Yeah. None of the Rewalds will ever go close. Nick or Jack won't get it.
No, of course not.
Unless, of course, Buddy gets tribunal on the last week before finals, then, of course, he won't get suspended. So...
What about Little Gaz?
Don't know.
He's got such a tough job, though, trying to get votes in a losing team weeks.
He's going to have more help this year, though, obviously, because the Gold Coast have got another year in the legs. The kids are growing up a little bit, so he'll have more help, but maybe they'll steal votes from him.
How many votes did he get this year?
What did he finish?
He got 23, I think.
And what was the win?
Swan won with like 32 or something.
32,
Gee, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And Gold Coast only won 3 games.
Yeah.
You get the feeling they realised they got it wrong the year before, gave it to Judd, and then this year was Judd's, and they gave it to Swan. So
I'm not so sure that this year was Judd's.
No, it wasn't.
Say, but
this year was Pendlebury's.
Yeah, I think it is Pendlebury's. And someone has to win it every year. The wooden spoon. St Kilda has more of them than anyone else ever. They could start literally their own version of MasterChef. They have that many wooden spoons.
Is it 26 now?
That's 26.
Too many to count. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's a lot of wooden spoons.
No, I don't want to say just wooden spoon. It's pretty easy.
Should we get the platinum spoon?
GWS. No, I'll just bottom 4. How about that?
Oh, we'll go to the bottom 4.
In order from bottom to top.
From 16th to 13th.
No,
18th to 14th.
15th.
15th?
Yes.
I'm bad at maths.
You're good at maths.
I'm horrible at maths. It's never my strong suit.
GWS, Port, Gold Coast, and Melbourne.
Huge call on Melbourne. Huge call.
Jeez,
Wow.
okay.
I'm going to say that I think that's probably close to the mark. I think that Brisbane are definitely going to come back this year, and they're not going to be bottom 4. I can see them improving massively.
I agree with all Matty's things, apart from the Melbourne one. And put Bulldogs in there for me.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that as well. I think it'll be the same as Joe there with the Bulldogs in 15th spot. Just can't see them doing anything worth writing or talking or even liking.
The only other one that I was going to say...
New coach.
The only other team that I thought might drop down, which is still a bit of a risk, but I was going to say St Kilda. If they play the kids, they're the other one that could
drop
be...
down.
They could be there.
They too have a new coach, new game plan to learn, all that stuff.
So, it's quite tough. But Coleman, I just thought.
Yeah.
Buddy.
Yeah, Buddy.
Buddy,
I
think it's difficult to mount a case for anyone other than Buddy.
What about Jack Rewell?
No.
Well, no, they're looking at getting more spread into the forward line, which is good.
I remember. Sorry to interrupt you. I remember seeing a ridiculous stat, which was like Rewell was getting something like 80% of forward entries directed at him.
In the year that he won.
In the year that he won, but still, like 80% for one player. Is
it would have been up there. It would have been up there for Buddy as well.
Yeah, but who else? Who came second? Who can you name? Who came second in Richmond's goal kicking?
Wasn't that
Martin?
Martin got 33, I think.
Yeah. Who's going to be gun too?
Oh,
Smokey for the Brown.
Dustin
Smokey for the Brownlow. Anyone? Dustin Martin.
It depends if he.
Our producer over there is up and about.
I'm a Collins supporter.
I think. I don't know, the way that Cochin polled last year, I think he got 18 votes or something like that, which, he didn't play exceptionally. I think he's a better attention grabber than Martin is.
I have always rated Trent Cochin. Always.
You're an idiot if you do not vote Trent.
People jumped off him with the Achilles injuries and all the injuries he's ever had, and people saying, he's not ever going to fulfill the talent worthy of a number 2 pick. But I never jumped off the bandwagon, Trent. I never jumped off the bandwagon. I've always loved you.
I'll be sure to tell him.
You tell him for me.
Cue to a romantic song.
I would love that. Can you do that as an ode to Trent? I think he's a gun. I can't say he'll end up better than Martin, because Martin is just from another universe.
They're two different types of players. Trent's the in and under, do everything. Martin's the rip it out of the hands and kick it from 70 metres.
Destroy your face.
Destroy your face with a don't argue.
Yeah.
What's happening with Richmond's backline? Do they have a backline?
Rance is all right. I mean, it depends.
We should say we're just talking a little bit more detail in Richmond, because they probably are a team that's pushing for the 8. So
yeah, this isn't directed by me to talk about them this much.
It's got a gun.
We sell papers. That's the thing. No, it's gotten better. I mean, they'll get a lot better with cohesion. Hopefully, we'll see a lot of McGuan in the 2s, because he can't kick. He panics under pressure. We'll see more of Post this year. Probably he's taller.
Another good Western Suburbs boy.
Yep. Took the most, double the amount of marks than anyone else in his year of the TAC Cup where he got drafted.
Someone that won't be featuring in Richmond's first game is the push-up king himself, Jake King. There's an article here in the Herald Sun stating that he's still wondering why he must sit out Richmond's opening game against Carlton on Thursday night. Jake, it's because he got suspended.
No, it's because Adelaide, there wasn't any mention from the umpires, and then Adelaide went to the AFL and said, look, Jake King did this tackle on our player, and we don't want him in the game. So yeah.
Nobody wants Jake King anywhere near the football.
I would have thought Carlton would be pretty unhappy about that. I thought they'd be saying, no, don't get him suspended. We want him there.
Oh, okay. I see how it is.
To get on to Carlton Richmond.
How's Sherrod Wellingham doing?
He's fine.
He's doing fine.
How's Jake King's premiership medallion doing?
Enough of the infighting between you two. We should get on to Joe's point about the first game in Melbourne of the season, Richmond versus Carlton.
Tips, boys?
I went with Richmond by 11 points.
I think I too went with Richmond. No, I went with Carlton.
No, everyone went with Carlton.
We'll run through the round quickly.
Don't worry, I'll just be 2-0 by the time.
Every year we go with we think Richmond might do it, and they don't. So I'm sick of it.
Yeah, I know they've gotten a lot better. Looking at their 2010 side, I'm just thinking, how did we play those players? They're so bad.
If Richmond did win, is that What's wrong with Carlton?
A lot
got
of things.
A lot of injuries.
Yeah.
Let's face it, I think no one disagrees that Richmond had the better pre-season. It's just whether they can maintain that into the actual season.
Yeah, I'm not sure if facing Carlton, GWS in the last round was all that good for our build-up because it's not really a game.
And there's no Jamison for Carlton as well, so they will struggle to contain Riwa. No, he's not going to play.
I read a report about someone was working at Work Experience at Carlton and.
We already going.
Yeah, here we go. But they said Jamison was doing quite well, and he overheard Ratton and another coach saying, "Oh, he might get round one." But,
At lunch or?
Oh, I don't know. No, like, just standing on the sidelines.
And the other big game in round one is Collingwood versus Hawthorn.
Yeah, go on.
Isn't there usually? Is it Collingwood always beats Hawthorn or something like that? Like
no,
they've got
Sydney or
only the
Collingwood
last couple of
always beats
years.
Sydney.
Yeah. Sydney last beat us in 05.
I've got to go with Hawthorn. Too much X factor, too many dynamic players,
too many
injuries.
Buddy
to romp all over their back line.
Too many injuries for Collingwood as well.
Yeah, Collingwood will be 0-1 after the season, after the first round of the season. 0-1.
Yeah, I'm going Hawks as well. I think not much in it though.
Hawks as well.
So what happens when we come back in a couple of weeks' time and they've lost?
We ridicule you for the 2 hours.
No, I'm talking about Hawthorn.
No, we ridicule you anyway. We ridicule you anyway, just for fun.
Another game that goes under the radar: North Melbourne Essendon.
Yeah, it's quite a good
probably
game.
the tightest matchup of the round.
All of the matches this round are actually quite tough, except the first one.
I'm going with North. I don't have to explain myself.
I'm going for North as well, so don't worry.
Bombers. Yeah.
No, I'm going North.
North.
Yeah.
They'll find it hard without Zeeble, but Petrie should get
God,
a bag.
love him so much.
How good
my
is
God,
Jack
how
Zeeble?
good is Jack Zeeble? Just an incredible human being.
Our producers just.
One of our producers went to the season launch on Wednesday night and got to speak to him, and the gestures he's making right now are just too lewd to even
mention,
discuss on the radio. Goodness me.
Yeah, what did he? Was that a direct quote? What you told us he said? He would like to run through a couple of the Essendon.
He would love to run through one of the Essendon boys. He can't wait to get out against the Cats.
And what was the Brad Scott quote? Can we repeat that over the air?
Have a go.
I believe the Brad Scott quote was that he hates the shit out of Essendon. Something like that.
Quite good.
He stood up and he essentially said in a few words that he thought Brisbane, when he said Brisbane he hated. They hated Essendon, but then he got to North and, it just went to a whole other level.
Yeah. I reckon that's just about going to do it for us, I think.
Yeah, quite good.
Yeah.
So we'll finish off with our theme song.
No, not just yet. Whoa, settle down, champion. We're going to be. We'll be back next week with another podcast, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is
like our Facebook group.
Yep. Facebook page.
Follow us on Twitter.
At Bound for Glory FM.
And we'll be uploading this to YouTube as well. So
it'll be on YouTube. It'll be on the Sim website. It'll be on Facebook. It'll be on Twitter. You cannot escape us. We will find you. This has been Bound for Glory. We are out.
Destiny